Charlie Smith from 47. It's on the way. It is good. There is a marker down. There's a flag down for now. The conquering hero of Ireland has given New Orleans the lead.
I'm sorry. Defense number 26. That penalty's declined. The field goal is good.
Well, surely there is no way the Carolina Panthers would lose not once but twice to the New Orleans Saints in the same season. Well, if you said the New Orleans Saints are a good football team, that's one thing. But unfortunately, they are not. A tough loss for the Carolina Panthers yesterday when they had an opportunity to grab the bull by the horns. Instead, they grabbed the wrong thing up under the bull. And boy, Panther fans left upset once again. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. So good to be with you on this Overreaction Monday, baby. Let's go, Diesel. I know, listen, it's a tough loss, but the sun's shining. The sun came up this morning, and we cannot fill this studio with your crocodile tears today.
I told you all about riding the wave, riding the roller coaster of this Carolina Panthers team. They simply are not ready to step into big-time moments. Think about what happened a couple of weeks ago on Monday Night Football in San Francisco. They laid an egg. They looked terrible. They needed historically bad performances from Matthew Stafford to beat the Rams. They simply were not ready to do what they needed to do to clinch this. And it looked like they were off to the races, right? Yeah. First quarter, 7-0 Panthers, and maybe you put up another touchdown in the second quarter, and you kind of feel like maybe you're pulling away in this game and the Saints are not going to be able to get off the mat. But holy crap, when they have 4 wins through 14 games, and 2 of them are against you, a team that is tied for the lead in the division, that is simply pathetic from these Panthers. And the offense was bad. The offense was really, really bad. But this loss is squarely on the shoulder pads of that defense in the fourth quarter. They folded like a cheap lawn chair.
You know, I think the reason they lost yesterday, Diesel, was the fact that I was pulling for them. I do. I really do. I was pulling for them. And what happens when I pull for a team to win? They choke.
I put a Panthers beanie on yesterday.
I'm telling you.
What was I thinking?
I thought maybe, just maybe, Diesel, with the Cowboys being as bad as they are, maybe the Panthers are going to give me an opportunity to start the pendulum swing of shifting my fandom over to Carolina. And I said, let's go. Let's beat the Saints. Let's do it. And as soon as I start to pull for them, what happens? They lose. You said it. The defense was bad yesterday, 20-17, Diesel. I don't know what it is about Tyler Shuck and about this year's Saints team, but for whatever reason, you talk about a Panthers team now that's 0-2 against these New Orleans Saints, a bad Saints team. This is just, it's unacceptable that you should not lose to this team twice.
Should you be able to have an expansion team? If your team is eliminated from the playoffs and your Cowboys are basically eliminated. There's still a glimmer of hope. According to the NFL website, they have a 1% chance of making the playoff.
Thanks.
But like, if your team is eliminated early, should you get an expansion franchise to go follow and stay involved?
Yes.
I mean, I know for you it's easier here because you got the local team that seems like they might have an opportunity. This is a team that is impossible to figure out. Bryce Young, though, he is very easy to figure out. Bryce Young, 163 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions this time. So at least that's an improvement.
Yeah.
But that is Bryce Young's basically career average, 160 yards and a touchdown. That is all Bryce Young is capable of on a week in, week out basis. He is not the kind of quarterback that's going to score you 21 points through the air. He's not going to run one into the end zone. So all these people who have come out of the woodworks to say Bryce Young is great, right? This team is in much better shape because Bryce Young is the guy and we believe in him. They crapped the bed against the awful New Orleans Saints, and it's proof that Bryce is just not going to be the guy. But it does, I think, set up for a situation where you could draft around him, build a really good team, and then pull the plug, pull the ripcord, get in a quarterback who knows what he's doing, and all of a sudden, you got a really good team.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Diesel, because I was going at it last night and this morning with some Panther fans on Twitter, and I've seen a lot of people out there who are in the opposite camp that I'm in, and that I think for the most part that you're in, Diesel, of Bryce Young not being the guy for the future of the Carolina Panthers. And look, I said it last night multiple times, going back and forth with fans on Twitter. If you're okay with this, your bar in sports fandom is set way too low. You should not be content with a mediocre, you said it, consistently a mediocre quarterback. Mm-hmm. Does he have days where he goes out and really just lights the world on fire? He does, but they're far and few between. Look, yesterday's loss was not on the shoulders of Bryce Young. I'll admit that. But what I will tell you is, Diesel, you also don't have a quarterback that goes out and just demands, figures out a way, finds a way, wills a way. And I had somebody on Twitter last night when I said that to come back and say, well, Coley's got more game-winning drives, yada, yada, yada. That's fine. If you want to pull that out and if you're okay with that, if this is what you're okay with as a Panther fan, that's fine. But I'm telling you, the eye test doesn't lie. You can pull the stats. You can, figure out a way to defend Bryce Young all you want. But on a consistent week in and week out basis, Diesel, he just doesn't have that desire where, hey, you know what, coach? I'm looking at you in the eye. We're not losing today. He doesn't have that.
Yeah, if you're Bryce Young and you are hovering around 500 or slightly better than that, and you say he's got a lot of game-winning drives, great. I'm with you. That says that's a guy who can get a team close and then get him over the hump. But he's 11-17 as a starter for the Carolina Panthers. He is far below 500. He's not going to get there by the end of his third season. He's not going to be a plus 500 quarterback by the end of his third season. And great. 5 or 6 of those 11 wins were come from behind game-winning victories. Great.
Yeah.
But he should be beyond that by now. We shouldn't still be having this conversation 3 years into the league. I mean, the NFL stands for not for long, and the average career is 4 seasons?
Sure.
So he is getting right up to the edge of an average length NFL career.
I just don't believe in Panther fans' heart of hearts. And I know there are a lot of people out there that disagree with me and say he is the guy, yeah. I don't think in the heart of hearts you can truly look at Bryce Young and think, you know what? Our franchise for the next decade is in good hands because we believe in Bryce. I don't think you can do it. Maybe I'm wrong. Tolos, if you think you're in good hands, if you believe you're all state or whatever with Bryce Young at the helm, that's fine. Let us know at 844-326-3663. I just don't. The Saints outgained Carolina in both passing offense and total yardage yesterday, Diesel. Carolina's time of possession wasn't enough to control rhythm, especially late. You mentioned they got off to a good start, but guess what happens? This is what happens to Bryce Young far too often. Carolina's offense, you talk about in baseball, we talk about it all the time, having timely hitting. Guess what Carolina Panthers don't have? Timely offense. When it mattered yesterday, the offense stalled out. Couldn't sustain drives in the fourth quarter, right? You built a 10-point lead, Diesel. The offense failed to find the end zone again, settling for 1 field goal and then 3 straight punt turnover sequence. I'll say that again. 3 straight punt turnover sequences when the Saints were mounting their comeback. So, if you want to have that dagger, that ability just to go in the game and put the nail in the coffin, there's nobody on this team that – and I didn't love what Dave Canales did yesterday. I didn't think he was great.
Right.
I don't think – has Dave Canales shown us in big-time moments and big-time games that he's ready? I don't know.
The defense, I noted myself, why are they playing so soft? Why do they keep giving up 10, 15, 20-yard plays to Tyler Shuck? Those 2 final drives, the one that was a touchdown for the Saints and the one that resulted in a field goal for the Saints. I mean, Tyler Shuck was just chopping them up. Why are you playing so far off the ball? If he just showed you that he can dissect your zone defense and soft coverage, why would you keep doing it for another drive? I mean, you had this, I guess they had this idea, he's going to get to the 50 and he's going to get scared and they're just going to stall out. That was not the case. You just let him walk down the field twice with the game and the division on the line. Where's the pride among this defense?
I don't know what was worse yesterday. I don't know what was worse, the defense or the play calling. Again, going back to what I said about Dave Canales, I think that when Dave Canales took the job, there was a lot to be said about what he did in Tampa Bay with Baker Mayfield, right? He was the OC. There was a lot of speculation that he could come in and kind of Diesel turn Bryce Young into what Baker Mayfield was, because at the time, Dave Canales left Tampa Bay when he came to Charlotte. That was kind of the time period Baker Mayfield was starting to surge, right? Baker Mayfield was becoming a really valuable asset in Tampa Bay. You just haven't seen that translate. So here's where I am. Defensively, yes, they were bad yesterday. But with Dave Canales and Bryce Young, you said, 3 years now? Yep. 3 years? It's either one or the other. You know how we always love to have the conversation? Well, the Patriots' success, Diesel, was either due to Tom Brady being a really good quarterback or due to Bill Belichick being a really good coach. We found out years later that it was more to do with Tom Brady than it was Bill Belichick. I think the same applies here. It's either Bryce Young's not capable of being the guy week in and week out, even though a lot of pundits and fans out there think he is, and I get yesterday's game might not have been on Bryce Young, or it's either Dave Canales. The Dave Canales, for whatever reason, Diesel's not able to get the most out of this guy. And go back to what you brought up a few minutes ago in the segment, the statistics. They're average. His career average is meh. It's bleh. That there's nothing spectacular. There's nothing sexy about what Bryce Young does on average. So it's either him or it's either Dave Canales. Is it Bryce?
Yeah.
Could Bryce go and have his career resurrected somewhere else? Maybe so. But one of the two is not jiving. They're not helping each other out right now in my mind.
Yeah, you're not going to win a lot of games when your career average passing yards is 165 yards. If your career average is 200 yards, 225, that's a good place to be. If that could be Bryce Young's floor, 225 yards a game, 215 yards a game, guess what? You can put a running back with him to go out and get you some extra yards. The running game was putrid against the Saints also.
Awful.
But I'd have to go back and look and see how many of Bryce Young's performances were within or were greater than 30 yards plus minus of that 160 career average. How many times is he essentially average? And in my mind, it's probably half of his performances sit right there in that 145 to 175 range.
Yeah.
And then it feels like maybe a few more of the other half are above average, but you also got a bunch that are below average as well. Edro Avero, I'm not gonna pull a Dewey and say that it needs to be fired after that game, but how do you let the two final drives go like this? 11-yard pass for a first down. Next play, 17-yard pass for a first down. Next play, 18-yard pass for a first down. Next play, 16-yard pass for a first down. How do you let them get 4 chunk plays in a row? They get a penalty, throw an incompletion.
A late penalty too, right?
And then 9 yards for a gain of 9, obviously, 12 yards for a touchdown. The following drive, 19-yard pass, 9-yard pass, 15-yard pass, field goal good.
Yeah.
How can you be a defensive coordinator in the NFL and not figure out a way? And by the way, he kept going to the left over and over and over and over again. They knew what he was going to do. He can't throw to his right. He's Derek Zoolander in that way. He cannot turn to his right. But left and middle, Tyler Shuck is incredible. They made him look like a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback as a rookie.
I want to get to what the Tolos are saying, but I want to say one thing real quick before we get to the text line. A lot going on the stream over here on the YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook stream where 52 Tolos are watching the show right now. You can watch the show there. But 2 things can be true, Diesel. 2 things can be true. Number 1, penalties and situational football cost Carolina yesterday. Penalties and situational football. Those cost momentum. If you watch enough football, high school, college, pro, it doesn't matter what level. You watch enough football, you'll find out real quick that those yellow handkerchiefs and situational play calling, Diesel, can kill momentum quicker than anything else. So that's true, number 1. Number 2, while the defense wasn't great, Bryce Young was efficient. But my point to what I've been saying this entire time, Bryce Young was not dominant. Like Bryce Young,
sure.
In my opinion, one of the reasons I don't believe Bryce Young is the guy is when Bryce Young gets the football in his hands. We've seen him be efficient. That's great. But he doesn't just consistently go out there and overpower the defense, Diesel. He's not dominating. We've all seen great players throughout the course of the NFL, running backs, defensive tackles, you name it, that just go out there and make you pay, that are dominant. Bryce Young is not a dominant quarterback, period. He's not.
No, and to Tiger Pal Rachel's point on the text line, she says, I want Bryce Young to be the guy because I like him, but he's not. I don't care if I like my quarterback or not. You know full well that I've had big-time issues with how Aaron Rodgers carries himself, but if Aaron Rodgers of 10 years ago was the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, I'd say I hate his guts, but he's a phenomenal quarterback and he wins games for us, ergo, I like him.
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't be – like, what has Bryce Young done that makes you like him? Besides talking with a soft voice, hey guys, it's Bryce Young from the Carolina Panthers. Like outside of that, what has he done? Is he out there in the community like building trust or something? I don't even see that.
Tiger Pal Rachel says also prevent defense sucks all the time. All right, let's go to the stream, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. A lot going on there. Dewey says, Cole, your team sucks too. Yes, you're right, Dewey. They do. Dewey says Cole needs to quit sports and go into politics, I guess because my sports team sucks. Let's see here. Madcraft says, here's a fair take. Is the complete and total opposite of clutch winning player Josh Allen, Bryce Young. They are polar opposites, total end of the spectrum. JB on YouTube says, when a 4-10 team and 2 of those wins are against you, you're not a playoff team, bottom line. I agree with that, right? JB says, no, Bryce Young's not the long-term answer at quarterback for Carolina, and this comes from a Panther fan. Zach Wofford says, Dave Canales' play calling in the fourth quarter, especially in the last 10 minutes of the game, were horrible, horrible time management. Zach also says we don't even need him to throw for 225. Give him 175 or give me 175 every week and run the damn ball, says Zach, with Rico and Chuba. They did not run the ball well at all yesterday.
No, they didn't.
Diesel, I think 49 yards. Is that right? 49 yards for
49 for Rico. 49 for Bryce, 29 for Chuba.
Yeah, not good. You're not going to – again, go back to this. How did Carolina beat Green Bay? How did Carolina beat Dallas? That's what they did. They ran the football, right? They had complimentary football. To Zach's point there, you have to have complimentary football. And, yes, I know as a quarterback, having a strong run game helps if you're Bryce Young. But guess what? At the same time, if you're that dude, go find a way to win. I know Panther fans last night on Twitter were telling me yesterday's loss wasn't on Bryce. That might be true. But all I'm saying is, Diesel, you've seen it. We've all seen it. Basketball, football, baseball, especially in basketball and football, when a guy has that it factor, he can walk to the sideline, look his coach in the eye, and he can say, Coach, we're not losing this game. He's got it. I don't believe Bryce Young has that.
And where is anybody on the defense with that same mentality, that same mindset of, Coach, I will get to the ball, I will get to Tyler Shuck, and I will dislodge the ball. That is my one and only purpose for breathing air during the fourth quarter of this game. I will end this game for us. I mean, look, we have talked how many times about Carolina just being a young team, about being an immature team, about how this team is essentially a year early, a year ahead of schedule of where they should be. I don't know if this time next year we're going to be having the exact same conversations about Bryce Young. I mean, as long as he is the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers, it feels like we are. Well, unless they can figure out a way to create more turnovers and win the game with more defense consistently. But that's a difficult thing to do in the NFL.
And you and I have talked about it, Diesel. It all goes back to one thing. There's one man. And I'm not saying like it's his show, he's the bottom, end all be all bottom line, but he kind of is. It all goes back to does Dan Morgan believe Bryce Young's the guy? Period. That's what it goes back to. If Dan Morgan believes that Bryce Young's the guy, guess what? To answer your question, yes, this time next year, you and I will be sitting here having the same conversation. If Dan Morgan believes Bryce is the guy. If he does, fine. Surround him with talent, figure out a way to get better. But if he's not the guy, go ahead and start figuring out a way to figure out how to get the guy in or start preparing for the future. I don't believe he's the guy. I don't think you do. But guess what? It's not our decision to make. It all comes down to Dan Morgan. What's Dan Morgan's evaluation of the 2025 season of Bryce Young? I think that's a great question.
Yeah, it kind of depends on where they fall in the NFL draft. If somebody just falls into your lap that you thought was pretty good this year out of college football, maybe you go and you draft a rookie quarterback, or you spend the money and get a veteran.
And last thing I'll say, I hear this last night on Twitter as well. Well, you can't find elite quarterbacks on every corner. No, but guess what? Tyler Shuck looked better than Bryce Young last night.
As a rookie.
A Louisville quarterback looked better than Bryce Young. So you're telling me it's that hard to go find somebody that's better than Bryce Young? Are you kidding me?
When we come back, Cole, we now have our 2025 Heisman Trophy winner, but completely overshadowed by an immature idiot. We'll talk about it next.
sports. Sound off now at 844-FAN-PHONE.
This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
And now the moment everybody has been waiting for. The winner of the 2025 Heisman Trophy is Fernando Mendoza.
Congratulations to Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza. A phenomenal season, well-deserved. And, seems like an all-around pretty nice guy.
Yeah.
Cole, he thanked his mommy for her help.
Is that what he called her?
Yeah. We're going to play that audio. If you're wondering, is it true or not? Yes, it's true. And we're going to hear it ourselves. But congratulations to the quarterback of the Indiana Hoosiers. 12-0, undefeated regular season. Big Ten champs, knocking off the Ohio State Buckeyes in Indianapolis. Number 1 seed in the college football playoff. Just shy of 3,000 yards, 33 touchdowns. Third highest QBR in college football. But Cole, you said last week that he shouldn't get it because he's a nerd.
Every single time it seems like he's on a good track. Like I was watching Saturday night, right? He comes up to the podium. He's not doing the whole screaming, yelling thing. It's really icky. And then you just said he says the word mommy.
Yep.
So again, every single time this guy's like, you know what? He's the man.
Yep.
We're going to go Team Mendoza. He just does something that icks you.
The question is, Cole, would you rather have a nerd or a thug as your Heisman Trophy winner?
Nerd.
You want the nerd.
Nerd.
Right. We're going to get into that here in just a second, but here is the audio in question of Fernando Mendoza thanking his mommy for all of her help.
No way.
Mommy, this is your trophy as much as it is mine. You've always been my biggest fan. You're my light. You're my why. You're my biggest supporter.
Ugh.
Your sacrifices, courage, love, those have been my first playbook and the playbook that I'm going to carry through my side through my entire life. You taught me that toughness doesn't need to be loud. It can be quiet and strong. It's choosing hope. It's believing in yourself when the world doesn't give you much reason to. Together, you and I are rewriting what people think is possible. I love you.
even like it's so. Here's what's bad. Hey, his speech was really good there.
Yeah.
The speech itself, ChatGPT, whoever wrote it, it was really good. I'm just saying, like, he always finds a way just to. You just want to crawl out of your skin with this guy.
I get it. I get it. But I would rather have that guy who clearly has love for his university, has love for his family in a what feels like a healthy way, though I don't know if a 21-year-old young man still calling his mom mommy is necessarily healthy. But hey, you call your parents what some people call their parents by their first name. Some people would get a smack upside the head if you called your mom and dad, Dan and Susie.
By the way, I will say, all kidding aside, I think he deserved it. I think they got it right. I think Mendoza was the best player all season long, and I also think Diesel. A lot of people will make the Ohio State game a big deal. It was. But I think Fernando Mendoza won the Heisman when he beat Penn State. If you remember, they were almost this close about to lose that football game. And that one throw that he made in the back of the end zone, the Penn State game, if they lose that game, their entire season, the trajectory could be a lot different. I'm not saying they don't go and win the rest of them, but I'm just saying, what does that one loss to a really bad Penn State, to a meh Penn State do, to your team? I think that was a Heisman-defining type game for Fernando Mendoza, and then you throw in there beating, Ohio State. That obviously helps, but the Heisman voters across the country felt like he was the best guy, and I think they got it right.
Zach on the stream says he called his dad Poppy. Did y'all not get that audio? No, we didn't have that audio, Zach.
Poppy.
That's interesting. I mean, I know that Fernando Mendoza, for him, he is obviously Hispanic, and he spoke part of his acceptany speech in Spanish. So maybe we're making a big deal out of it. Maybe it's mommy like M-A-M-I. Mommy. Instead of mommy, M-O-M-M-Y.
Yeah, maybe so.
But he won this thing going away. 643 of the roughly 930 first place votes. It's not a set number because, you add living Heisman Trophy winners plus the media. So around 930 votes, he won 643 of them, just absolutely trounced the rest of the field. Wasn't even close. But Cole, should personality, going back to what you were saying last week, should personality go into the winning of the Heisman Trophy? Because I don't know if you'll ever be able to get this answer out of the Heisman voters, but I think they very much looked at Diego Pavia's personality and said, that's not a guy that we want to have to deal with for the next 40, 50 years as a member of our ranks.
It's a good question. I think you could look at it both ways. I think, number one, you could say, well, Johnny Manziel was on that stage, right? Does Johnny Manziel equate to Diego Pavia? Not quite. I think they're similar, Diesel, in the way that they carried themselves, right? Like if you look at the way they carry themselves talking about personality, I think the two are similar. Now, I'll say this. You asked the question, does it go into their decision? Well, think about it like this. To answer your question, I would say, guess what? Heisman voters are just like you and I. Heisman voters are writers, journalists, reporters all across the country. Some sit behind the microphone, some don't. And Diesel, those Heisman voters are just like you and I in the sense of, well, guess what? If somebody rubs you the wrong way, you probably don't like them. You have this preconceived notion, right? And maybe that's not fair, but I can tell you to answer your question, whether it's fair or not, I 110% believe that personality does go into someone's decision-making process when it comes to a Heisman voter voting yes or no for somebody. And you go look at the overwhelming amount of votes that Fernando Mendoza got. You just brought it up, the number 600, plus?
43,
Yeah. So there's a big discrepancy. Was Mendoza the better player? Yeah, he was the better player. But did Diego Pavia also change college football in the way that he brought Vanderbilt to life? Yeah, you could say that he did. So I think, to answer your question, the voters are just like you and I. They have dislikes, they have likes, and I don't think Diego Pavia is the most liked person on planet Earth right now.
You go back, and here's the mission, by the way, the mission statement of the Heisman Trophy. It says the mission is to grow the legacy and to preserve the integrity of the Heisman Memorial Trophy, which is annually awarded to the outstanding college football player in the United States whose performance epitomizes great ability combined with diligence, perseverance, and hard work. That, to me, the word integrity, preserve the integrity, has to be the reason why Diego Pavia didn't win this thing. Because you look back, you got to go back a ways to find somebody that you would consider not necessarily the best guy while he was in college. You got to go all the way back to 2017 in Baker Mayfield to find a guy who was as brash and as egotistical maybe as Diego Pavia. Not to say that, Caleb Williams wasn't a little bit cocky sometimes and that Kyler Murray or Joe Burrow weren't cocky sometimes. But for the most part, Cole, I think, outside of a few guys like Baker or Johnny Manziel, you have guys that are probably pretty universally likable. And that might be a reason why Diego Pavia didn't win this thing. Now, when he didn't win it, he took it hard. He did not acquit himself well. And again, this is after the fact. There's no way to say, well, this is part of the reason why they didn't choose him. But Diego Pavia decided to take to his Instagram page and posted a photo of himself with all of his friends and looks like some family members in the arena. And it says, F all the voters, thumbs down emoji, but family for life. F all the voters. I don't know if the Heisman voters have an opportunity to interview these guys and kind of get a sense for them, or if they have to just consume through the media like everybody else does.
Yeah.
But when you react with F all the voters, and then you go out partying in New York City with an electronic sign that reads bleep Indiana as you're out on the streets, partying with basically half-naked girls, I mean, it's clear that that's not somebody that you want inside the Heisman house.
Well, look, the reality of it is, Diesel, how people respond to things in life tells us a lot about the person, right? Good or bad. And look, it's a Heisman Trophy. It's a big deal. But at the end of the day, there's people every year that lose the Heisman Trophy, that aren't awarded the Heisman Trophy, right? It happens every single year. Yep. So, like, cry me a river. Here's where I am. This whole Diego Pavia thing, he's a fantastic player.
Yes,
he is. But I'm over the social media stuff. I'm over the interviews. I'm over the appearances with all the social media influencers that he's on with, and I'm over it all. Like, yes, you're a fantastic football player, but how you carry yourself still matters. And I believe, Diesel, I know that we're in this world and culture, we're getting further and further away from, like, carrying yourself with class and having class. I know we're getting far away from that, but I believe it still says a lot about somebody. And Julian saying, where was his Instagram photos? I mean, you just have to lose with class. And I don't know that, I disagree with you. I don't think I disagree with you. I think they made the right decision.
And, as you say that he changed Vanderbilt football, and he certainly did, we'll see how much of a lasting impact, if Vanderbilt will continue to invest in the same way a few years after Diego Pavia moves on. But he also seemed to be trying to change the game in a way that maybe some Heisman voters said, I don't know that I like this guy suing the NCAA for more and more and more eligibility. Remember, he shouldn't even be playing college football this year. He exhausted his eligibility, but he successfully sued, got another year this year.
Sure.
His team has made some allusions to the idea that he might sue for another year of eligibility next year, even though that seems unlikely that he's going to do. But, maybe people are saying, congrats, dude. You had a couple great years at Vanderbilt, but you're done. You're done. We don't want you around here anymore. Move on to the NFL or go get a job. But he did. Sorry.
No, I was going to say Mark Elodux gets in and says, it's a good locker room material. Hey, mommy's boy, we're going to squash you like a bug. That comes from Mark Elodux.
Love it. He did. Diego Pavia did take to social media to apologize for his actions. And again, I don't want to say that it's the actions of an immature kid. I think it's the actions of an immature man, because Diego Pavia is a 23-year-old man. Yeah. He has had time. He has had life lessons along the way that took him from, being at a small school, making his way up to, New Mexico or New Mexico State for a little while. Mm-hmm. Then he makes his way over to Vanderbilt in the SEC. The guy has been through enough at this point, you would think, to have matured beyond the years and beyond the mindset that he is currently in. But he did apologize. These were his words. Being a part of the Heisman ceremony last night as a finalist was such an honor. As a competitor, just like in everything I do, I wanted to win. To be so close to my dream and come up short was painful. I didn't handle those emotions well at all and did not represent myself the way I wanted to. I have much love and respect for the Heisman voters and the selection process, and I apologize for being disrespectful. It was a mistake, I am sorry.
No, it wasn't.
He's only mad because he lost.
No, look, yeah, that's who he is. And I think what he did after the fact when he lost the Heisman, I think all he did was he reassured all the voters that they made the right choice. Yeah. That's all he did. They feared that this is who he was. He doesn't win it. He goes and says, I'll take my ball and go home, and I'll write F the vote. It's childish. Yeah. And you think NFL GMs don't notice that kind of stuff?
Sure they do.
I mean, come on. So, like, great player, love what he did for Vanderbilt, but you said it, he's 23 freaking years old. I'm just over it. I'm over the Diego Pavia hype train. I think it's we'll see. We'll see what he does.
You don't want him to win get another year of eligibility
and
come back?
No. To answer your question.
No Vandy in the SEC championship game?
No, thank you.
Mark Elodux asks, by the way, does Cole cry mommy when the Cowboys lose?
I say things when the Cowboys lose. I say things that I shouldn't say. Also, Zach says, can we agree that Texas Tech linebacker Jacob Rodriguez should have been there in New York because he got more first-place votes than Julian Sayin? Also, did you see the video of Julian Sayin being interviewed by one person at the table, and all of the other Heisman finalists had like 50? That was weird. That was really weird. I hadn't seen anything like that before. Diesel, we've got to get to our headlines. A lot to get to. Daily Wires on the other side right here on the Fan Upstate.
Fan Phone. This is Wire to Wire with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
Eric Hines on the text line says it's funny how you hear nothing from the Brokeback Mountain Boys when they choke and lose. Fly, Eagles, fly. I take my losses, Eric. I take them, and I've been used to them now. So I have nothing to say other than that was embarrassing. Season's over, and I take the L and move on. We've got to get to our daily wires, the buzz that's happening right now in the sports world. We start off with just awful news. Diesel, legendary South Carolina Gamecock quarterback Steve Tannehill passed away yesterday at the age of 52. Excuse me. I know that Steve Tannehill had been battling cancer and in past years. I didn't know that it had gotten that bad. But obviously a tremendous talent, incredible guy. Had the pleasure of meeting him many, many times, even doing a little bit of deer hunting with him, Diesel, and he was something else. He was exceptional, and he'll be missed for sure.
Sad day for the Gamecock fans.
It really is. Sure. He was as good as it gets, man. Probably one of the best all-time greats when it comes to quarterbacks. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Man, yesterday was a bad day for the ACLs, Diesel. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes suffered a season-ending torn ACL in his left knee in the closing minutes of the 16-13 loss to the Chargers. Tough loss.
Is Chris Collinsworth going to be okay?
That's a good question.
I didn't come up with that joke. I've seen it all over the internet the last,
It is a good question, though.
14, 16 hours.
It is. Collinsworth loves him some Mahomes, right?
Yeah, he does.
Denver, the initial belief is that, speaking of ACL, Green Bay Packers star pass rusher Micah Parsons suffered a torn ACL in his left knee Sunday, a source confirmed to ESPN. And just to make things worse, Rams wide receiver Devontae Adams did not return to Sunday's playoff-clinching win over the Lions. He has a non-contact hamstring injury. So, not near as bad as an ACL, but Patrick Mahomes, Diesel, and Micah Parsons, two stars. You hate to see.
Yeah, it's tough to see him this late in the season. Even on player, teams, not the Chiefs because they're eliminated, but teams that, should be making pushes for maybe a championship, having to do so without key guys. But hey, that's the league. That's something you got to deal with and account for.
In his first game back in the NFL, Phillip Rivers threw for 120 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception in a 2-point loss to the Seahawks. The Colts had that game won.
Did you
Signed, sealed, and delivered, Diesel?
Did you see the video of his team, like the team that he coaches, all sitting around watching the game, losing their minds?
How awesome was that?
A touchdown.
They showed that during the broadcast, man. That was really cool to see, and he just couldn't throw the ball down the field. I don't think he has the arm strength to get it down the field anymore. So it was cool to see him come back, but it didn't really matter. Speaking of quarterbacks, how about this news today? Huge news out of college football. Florida quarterback DJ Lagway, Diesel, has announced his intention to enter the transfer portal.
That's brutal for John Summerall coming in.
Diesel, that is huge. God. Huge news. You're right. Brutal for John Summerall.
Not enough money down there to keep him around or what?
Ooh, that's tough.
What if he ends up at Miami?
That'd be funny, wouldn't it? It'd be funny. We talked about it in the very last segment. Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza is your 2025 Heisman Trophy winner. He's the first Indiana Hoosier to ever win it. He ran roughshod 643 of roughly the 930 first place votes.
Ass whooping.
It was. Diego Pavia wasn't happy, but he did apologize for his disrespectful Heisman reaction. We talked about him on his Instagram post. And he admitted he didn't handle those emotions well at all. Yesterday, Kalen DeBoer said that he has no interest in discussing other job opportunities. He said, I have spoken and have no interest in speaking with anyone else about any other job. So maybe DeBoer is staying put in Tuscaloosa.
It seems like Michigan is running down the list of candidates, and it's getting shorter and shorter.
Yeah, no doubt. This one's wild. OnlyFans model Mia Sorority refuted reports that Sharon Moore offered her season tickets in exchange for sexual favors. We talked about that last week. There might be reports out there about that, but she did admit that they had exchange text, including after his arrest.
How?
What are you doing?
First of all, how are you allowed to text if you've been arrested? Like, shouldn't your phone and all devices be taken away from you? I don't. These are her claims.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're 100% true or not. But dude, you've just been arrested. Why is one of the people you're texting an OnlyFans model? What are you doing?
Unbelievable, Sharon. What are you doing, man? But again, everything we've talked about when it comes to Sharon Moore has been the same thing. Like, yeah, we're not real surprised by it. We're not really shocked by it. We will get to the rest of the Daily Wires maybe in the next segment, maybe a little bit later in the show, maybe at some point. Yeah, we'll try to get to them because we have a lot to get to. Maybe next we might can fit them in the very next segment.
So much going on. Let's look at this in the very next segment. The latest, the hot off the presses, latest in the NFL playoff picture. Who played spoilers over the weekend? Who is basically eliminated, even though it's not 100% confirmed? We'll talk about it next. love this time of year in the NFL. You've got the hunters, the hunted, and the teams that are just vying for home field advantage in the playoffs. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He's Cole Bryson. My name is Diesel, and who is this? JT in Greer. JT, you're a funny guy, man. Trying to get in his pre-Christmas upset picks. That was last week. This week we'll be picking post-Christmas upset picks.
Thanks for turning it on and leaving it on, JT.
Yeah. JT, you're here a lot. How did you miss all that? I don't know how you did it, but hey, we'll be working on the standings. Actually, no upsets occurred in the early game. So the Army-Navy game was not an upset.
Almost, boy. That was a good one,
State
wasn't it?
Game was not. That was a phenomenal football game. A wild finish there in was it played in Baltimore? I think it was. But the NFL is heating up, man. It's getting really fun. You got some teams that are sitting way outside of the purview of a playoff caliber team that are playing spoilers right now, Cole. This weekend we had 3 huge upsets in the NFL that are causing some teams some headaches. The Falcons got that dub on Thursday night over the Bucks. That kind of screwed them over for a couple of days. And then the Carolina Panthers returned to the favor by losing to the Saints. So the Panthers, who had a chance to clinch the division if they just beat the Bucks one time out of the final 2, and they couldn't get it done. The Vikings also ending pretty much, not entirely though, because according to NFL.com, there's still a less than 1% chance that the Cowboys make the playoffs. They are all but eliminated, but they are not below the line yet at this point, Cole. The Vikings get that big dub 34-26 over the Cowboys, in which Dak Prescott somehow has a phenomenal football game and doesn't put it in the end zone.
Every game is something different. I'll say this. I have a strong love for the NFL. I do. I love the NFL, and I love watching. It doesn't matter if my team's involved or not. I love watching the games. I truly do. Yesterday, I did nothing but watch NFL Red Zone from the time it came on till the time it went off. I love NFL Red Zone, but I hate this time of year when your team's not in it. And my team's trash. I wanted to pull for the Panthers. They lost yesterday. I hate, as much as I love the NFL, I hate not having a dog in the fight. You know, like Kansas City Chiefs fans. Well, the real Chiefs fans. Like, I don't know if there were any real Chiefs fans before Patrick Mahomes. I think most of them are bandwagon fans. But for the first time in a long time, Diesel are trying to figure out how to face reality that their team's not relevant anymore. They're not. It's December the 15th, and the Chiefs and Cowboys are pretty much done out of the playoff picture. It's crazy.
You know, and with Patrick Mahomes tearing his ACL, don't know how long that's going to take to recover from, or if he'll ever fully recover from that and be just as good, if not better, than he was before. That's going to be tough. Travis Kelce getting older. You got to feel like, man, maybe this is the year that he says, all right, enough is enough. I'm out of here. And who knows, this Chiefs dynasty may fall off a cliff. It may not be a slow slip into the abyss. It may be just falling off the edge fast.
That'd be wild. Look, I don't know if the dynasty's done. I do know that Travis Kelce's getting to the point where he's not like, he doesn't have as much of an impact on the game as Diesel I think he used to. Mahomes is still really good. Like, I don't think Mahomes' game has dropped tremendously, but for whatever reason, their offense isn't the same when they can't run the football like they did. And they used to could run the football at will. And right now they can't run the football. And it goes to show that if you can't run the football, it puts a lot on your quarterback. It's tough in the NFL when you cannot run the football. And Andy Reid's like 1,000,000 years old. You know, Travis Kelce's getting up there. I don't know that it's over, but I think you're going to have to really see now how good that general manager is up there in Kansas City to see if he can continue to sprinkle guys in that can continue to make a high impact.
And they've done a great job to this point, you know, bringing rookies in and getting them up to speed quickly. You put them on a good team. It's a lot easier, obviously, to hit the ground running and be really good first year out of college. But it's going to be interesting. Can they replace a huge piece in the tight end room? Can Mahomes be what he used to be? Is Andy Reid eventually going to step away from the game, or is it going to happen this offseason? And, you got to feel like they have a better chance at it than most because they have They have a management structure that is used to winning, that is a championship culture. Compare that to the Carolina Panthers, who don't have a clue how to win, and it shows, and that's from the top down. They don't have a clue what to do. They don't have a clue how to be a competent championship winning caliber of franchise. So they're still building up and trying to make their way back. As of right now, still just the Broncos and the Rams have clinched their playoff spots. Still a really good chance, highest probability sits with the Patriots and the Jaguars and the Eagles. All three of those have better than a 95% chance of making the playoffs, so it's going to happen. Looks like the Bears are going to be in, the Steelers and the Buccaneers as well, Cole. Currently sitting on the bubble, you got the Colts at a 17% chance to make the playoffs, Lions at a 41% shot, Panthers at a 23% shot, and lo and behold, your Dallas Cowboys have a 0.5% chance of making the playoffs.
They're cooked.
It could happen.
No, they're cooked. They're cooked. It's embarrassing.
Sorry, I kind of mixed up the AFC and the NFC stuff there.
Yeah.
On the AFC side, Colts, Ravens, Dolphins all have still a chance. The Dolphins are still statistically not eliminated from the playoffs, even though they're sitting at 6 and 7. The Ravens have about a 50-50 shot of getting in. The Chiefs, Vikings, Bengals, Falcons, Jets, Saints, Browns, Commanders, Raiders, Cardinals, Titans, and Giants all eliminated from the playoffs. And it feels like, Cole, this next week, there are some games that could make some big moves at the top of the NFL. As you look into the following week, there's some big-time games, Cole, that can move around who's going to be hosting, who's going to be clinching divisions. Rams, Seahawks. Winner of this one takes sole possession of the NFC West. Loser falls behind. Home field advantage on the line here. That's going to be a huge matchup next week.
It is going to be. I'll tell you this. You mentioned the Colts. I'm interested in this Colts team. Two things stand out from what you just said. Number one, the Colts are an interesting storyline because the Colts started off like gangbangers, just guns a-blazing, red hot, and we've seen it in the NFL consistently over the years. Like, you go back and I can experience it from my team. I can remember when the Cowboys have started off fantastic, and it's such a long season. I don't think people realize like the longevity of what it takes to continue to be great week in and week out, kind of like we thought the New England Patriots were yesterday. Like, they came out and went up 24-0 yesterday, and the Bills stormed back and beat them. So it's a long season. I still think a team like New England's okay. I don't think a team like Indianapolis is okay. They just don't have like a quarterback. Sure. That obviously matters, right? The run game, yeah, that's great. Jonathan Taylor's one of the best running backs in the NFL, but yesterday Diesel had 25 carries for 87 yards. The math there is not mathing. So teams are realizing, okay, number one, if you have that guy as your quarterback in Phillip Rivers, you're going to be pretty one-dimensional. We can stack the box. We're not going to let you run all over us. The Colts were not great yesterday at all running the football. Again, 25 carries it took you to get 87 yards. Now, on the flip side, Seattle's interesting. You brought them up. Yes, Seattle's 11-3, but I am very interested, Diesel, to see if you remember last year at this time, what were we talking about last year? Sam Darnold and the epic collapse that they had in Minnesota. He was really, really good during the regular season. He had an epic collapse toward the end of the season. I'm really interested to see with those two teams. Number one, the Colts are now 8-6. They're 2-5 on the road. It looks like their season might be trending in the wrong direction. But Diesel, on the flip side, Seattle's 11-3, 5-2 at home. They're a really good team. But the problem is they weren't really good yesterday. Do you know that they didn't score a touchdown? Seattle didn't score a touchdown yesterday against the Colts.
It's a head-scratching league sometimes, isn't it?
It's crazy. It's a strange lady. So you don't score a touchdown. You win 18-16. You score 3, and then 9 in the fourth. 0 touchdowns. And the question becomes, what did I just say we were talking about this time last year? Sam Darnold just didn't have it. He's not that guy. He didn't do it last year. The Minnesota Vikings fell off of a cliff last year. Now, I'm just telling you, I know Seattle's 11-3, but don't be surprised if Seattle also falls off of that cliff. I think they're still a good team. They still have a good defense, a young defense. They've done a good job. but I just don't trust Diesel. I don't trust Sam Darnold. I don't. Maybe he proves me wrong.
Got good reason not to.
Yeah.
We saw him face to face a couple years in a row here.
The NFC, though, is interesting. The NFC, by the way, Madcraft, what is he saying? I mean, he's like writing 6 books over here on the stream. He's excited about a novel, the Rams Seahawks. Madcraft, pick up the phone and call in. How about that? Talk NFL football with us if you want to talk. You're slinging out messages left and right. It's hard to keep up. The NFC playoff picture, you just read it off. It's interesting because the NFC is kind of like a logjam. Mm-hmm. A lot of things could happen. You know, I heard a statistic yesterday, Diesel, and this is the wildest thing I've ever heard. You just brought up that NFC playoff picture. The Bears yesterday, listen to this. The Chicago Bears going into yesterday could finish anywhere from 1 in the NFC to 8th in the NFC. Think about that.
Yeah.
They could finish anywhere from 1 to 8th. It is a logjam right there. So I think the NFC playoff picture, the AFC is obviously interesting. The Chargers are good, but the NFC is loaded, man.
Yeah, if I'm the Bears, I'd rather be playing against tough opponents that keep you mentally in it. The Bears have a tough one this coming Sunday against the Packers. A home game against the Packers, 1.5 point spread, basically a coin flip kind of game.
And you know what? Shout out to the Bears. The Bears are a 10-win football team. Think about that. The Chicago Bears in year 1, and I said this to somebody yesterday, Diesel, if Ben Johnson doesn't win Coach of the Year, fire everybody. How does that guy not win Coach of the Year? He goes into a franchise that has not won in forever.
I don't have a memory in my lifetime of the Bears being legitimately good. There was that thought during the Cutler era that they might be better, that they might be good. He had the star power, but they never won enough.
And now, not only are they good, in his first season, again, this goes back to Carolina Panther fans who said, well, we got to settle for Bryce Young. Ben Johnson in his first year with Caleb Williams, they're 10-4. They're 5-1 at home. Chicago is back are the days, Diesel, where Chicago playing at Chicago is basically a death knell. I mean, it just doesn't happen. Only one team's won there this year. So Ben Johnson's got to be Coach of the Year. That guy's done a tremendous job. Let's go to the phone lines, 844-326-3663. Madcraft wants to talk NFL. I'm assuming Chargers, right?
Well, no, actually, I was going to talk about this, something that I saw earlier. You got the Seahawks, the Rams, and the 49ers all have the potential to get the number 1 seed in the NFC. Mm-hmm. But they were talking, if you look at the way everything's working out, right, I believe the Rams and the Seahawks play this week, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And then I believe the 49ers are playing somebody, which brings me to the point of they said that all 3 of these teams have a shot for the number 1 overall seed, but it really, there's one person standing in the way, and it's Phillip Rivers. Because the 49ers now have to go play the Colts, and that's going to really dictate how the ending can really come out. So it's just kind of ironic that Phillip Rivers is actually going to be a determining factor in how the NFC West finishes out.
Madcraft, Seahawks, Rams, Thursday night on Prime. 2 teams that are 11-3. Cancel every play-in Tolos you have for Thursday night. Right now, cancel them.
Okay, that's a must-win for Seattle.
Must win.
Yeah, it is.
And then, by the way, you would get 2 Saturday games this weekend, guys. 2 Saturday games. Eagles, Commanders, Packers, Bears. Madcraft, real quick, do you believe your Chargers can win it all?
Yes, I believe, but it would take a lot to go the right way. Just for sake of the argument, my overreaction today, real quick, would have been that the Chargers took care of the Chiefs for the league. You guys are welcome. All right.
Oh
the
my
Bills
God, they've been terrible all year.
Yeah, but the Bills took care of the Patriots for the league. Thank you, Bills.
Oh.
That's like being the second car to run over a dead animal and say, "Hey, thanks for
we killed that raccoon."
Yeah, but Green Bay needed to handle Denver for the rest of the league, and they didn't do it.
They
Green
got
Bay laid
demoed. Yeah.
it.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Matt
it.
Kraft.
Good call.
Steven wants to weigh in. What's up, Steven?
Hey guys, I just wanted to call in and say, how about them Cowboys? Oh wait, never mind.
Wait.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Can't say it today.
No, never mind. Yeah. Well, how about them Panthers? No. Can't say anything about my Panthers either. I'm just going to go back to being a Bears fan way back in the day. Yeah, back when I had the 45 and the Super Bowl shuffle, and bring back those memories for this year. And maybe I can wish Caleb Williams through the playoffs and win a Super Bowl.
Steven, I didn't realize you were that much of a fair weather fan. You bouncing around from team to team. You're like Sharon Moore's DMs.
The guy who was bouncing back and forth between shows earlier in the basketball challenge. Remember, I was bouncing back and forth. I'm consistent with this.
Yeah, you are. You're inconsistently. That's right. Consistently inconsistent. Thanks, Steven.
No.
Appreciate you. 844-326-3663. All kidding aside, Thursday night's going to be like huge. Get your popcorn out.
Yeah.
And then Saturday, Eagles Commanders, NFC East, a game that really doesn't matter anymore since Dallas lost.
But the Eagles are bad enough that
Eagles are bad enough. They could slip up. Packers Bears on Saturday night. My God, it could be an incredible game.
How about Broncos Jaguars?
I know.
Trevor Lawrence looked amazing.
Yeah, we had
yesterday.
How about we forget? I mean, they're 10-4. Trevor Lawrence, this year has been really good. And you said it, the Broncos are 12-2. The Trevor Lawrence Diesel has not been talked about enough this year. He hadn't. The guy's been phenomenal.
He had just a monster game. You know, it kind of harkened back to what Clemson fans know of him and the ability to just chuck it up there. You know the play that I'm talking about. He was running backwards and kind of threw it off his back foot and still somehow connected for a huge gain.
Unbelievable.
And those are the kind of plays that a guy's feeling it, starts to hit, and that's a dangerous thing for any opponent that's got to face him.
Last caller, Rick and Greer wants to get in before we run off to a break and are joined by Grayson, Mann of TigerNet.com. What's up, Rick?
Well, they did it again. The Panthers pulled me in, me thinking they would at least be decent in that game yesterday.
Yeah.
And then they crapped the bed. Let me tell you, if you can't beat the Saints, the Aints, lost 2 straight games to the worst team in football, you don't need to go to the playoffs.
Rick, how many times have you bought and resold your PSLs? Because you've threatened it many times.
I threatened it. I never did it, but I threatened it. But I think I got to do it next year. I'm going to become a Cowboys fan.
No, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that at all, Rick. It's a miserable life.
But can't we get rid of the midget? Can't we get rid of
No,
Bryce?
he's the best thing since sliced bread.
It's not working, Bryce. Let me do it in Bryce Young's terminology. We just didn't make it. Okay, we just couldn't play yesterday. Shut up, Bryce Young.
Thanks, Rick.
Congratulations, Rick. That's incredible.
That might be the worst, Bryce.
It might be the worst. It might be the worst. That's good, though. It was really good. All right, we've got to run off. We've got Grayson, Mann. We've got opt-outs everywhere happening. Clemson opting out. I think Dabo Swinney may have even opted. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm saying that tongue-in-cheek. A lot to get into. A big one tomorrow night for Clemson basketball. Grayson, Mann, TigerNet.com next. one is opting out. We go to the one, the only Grayson Mann of TigerNet.com. When we look at Clemson, the Pinstripe Bowl rapidly approaching. We'll also get into some Clemson basketball, a big one tomorrow night as well. But Grayson Mann, TigerNet.com, have you opted out of the Pinstripe Bowl yet?
My papers didn't go through, so I guess I'm going.
Grayson, you got us?
I got y'all. Uh-oh.
Sorry about that. There was a little bit of an internet lag on our end. It's probably ours. I don't know if Diesel paid the internet bill or not. He's responsible for that.
Yeah.
But
let me log in real quick.
Yeah, log in, take care of that. The season we're in, Grayson, I mean, are you surprised by these opt-outs?
Not in particular. It would have shocked me if any four of those had played, especially Terrell, Parker, and Woods, who are all projected to be high draft picks in this spring's draft. I'd be floored. And Sweeney, to his credit, only 4 bowl opt-outs, or I guess 5 counting Antonio Williams, but he cited that's more injury-related than anything else. So of the expected opt-outs, I think that's what you should really probably be on a course for, is those guys were going to opt out. I think it would be shocking if anything else had happened.
You know, Grayson, it would make a lot of sense if Cade Klubnik chose to opt out, especially because he's been battling a little bit of a thumb injury or hand injury the last couple of days that has kept him from throwing in practice. What's the absolute latest on that?
Yeah, from what we've heard for the last at least couple hours is that it's not serious, and they're just kind of, I think, putting it on ice. No pun intended with the weather outside. But ultimately, I think it won't keep Klubnik out of the bowl game. But it wouldn't be shocking if it opened up the door for maybe a Denson or a Vizina to get some playing time in, especially in a game where, man, there's a lot of opt-outs on both sides.
Grayson, I want to ask you a question about bowl games impacting coaching staffs. We know that, like, as fans, as media, we're not up, for the bowl games like we used to be. Maybe we all need to take a bowl game blue pill, but we're just not up for it. And I want to know from you, are coaches in the same boat? Like, I know they're human. I also know they're coaches. They're getting paid millions of dollars to go out there and coach. I get that. But in your mind, from like what you gather, you're around them a lot more than we are. Do you ever feel that as if sometimes the coaches also feel the same feeling that we do when it comes to bowls, and them just not meaning as much nowadays?
It didn't look like it on the practice field today at Clemson. Those guys were active, and especially with the light crowd where you're down 26 scholarship players, so it's a little bit quieter out there. You can hear the coaches a little bit more in their instruction. They were certainly tapped in, Cole, and there was a lot of energy to this group. And CJ Spiller had come up to some of the folks in the media looking at our clothing to see if we were tough enough for the cold. And we got glowing reviews on that front. So they're out there having a good time. It's an extra opportunity with this group. They've been winning for the last month and a half. So for them, it's another opportunity to go out there and do that. Can't say in terms of the rest of the country if that's the same vibe.
Yeah.
The Bucked Up LA Bowl, or whatever it was on Saturday, I want to say, didn't look like the energy was all there, but it was also a blowout at the end of the day. So I think it comes with the mileage of whatever point they're at in their program.
Grayson, what kind of, verbiage have you heard from these coaches as they're trying to impart how much beating Penn State would mean? I know Penn State had a very disappointing season, as did Clemson, but hey, that's still a big brand that you would be able to beat and end your season with what would feel like a marquee win. 10 years from now, people are only going to remember that Clemson beat Penn State or played Penn State in a bowl game. They're not going to remember that these two were two teams that ultimately didn't meet their expectations. So how are they communicating what this game means and what it would mean to not look good in this game?
I think it means more it's a Clemson group. I think it would be the first time in Clemson's history for a group to start 1-3 and finish out the season with 8 wins. I believe that would be the first time in program history. So there's a little bit riding right there. But I think at that same time, it's a group that there's some new opportunities cropping up for certain players. We spoke to Tyler Brown this afternoon, him being one that hasn't really gotten his fair share of reps at receiver with the crowded room that he's a part of. This is an opportunity for him now with Wesco and Williams both out of that starting equation. He got a dose of reps at practice today along with Tristan Smith and TJ Moore. So a big opportunity for him. Jeremiah Alexander getting the start now with Wade Woodaz missing the game due to having surgery this Wednesday. So there's going to be a crop of players that haven't really seen the spotlight all too much. And this is an opportunity for them to essentially have an audition for next year, whether that's with Clemson or if they're looking elsewhere to put some good tape out on for their career.
Talking to Grayson, Mann, TigerNet.com. Make sure you give him a follow on Twitter, on X, at Gray_Man21. That's man with 2 N's if you are a Clemson fan. Grayson, want to get your thoughts on the reaction that you've gotten from a tweet that you sent out about 3 hours ago. You said Dabo Swinney says the team will return from New York City late on the 27th, and the portal will open days later. He adds that Clemson won't take part in any early deals until the portal opens. We aren't going to cut deals with people and all that stuff, says Swinney. The reaction, I'm sure you've already seen them in your mentions. Clemson fans not too happy about Dabo and the methodology and the approach with the transfer portal. Do you believe that Clemson fans are justified with being upset that Dabo's sitting on the bench a little bit too long when it comes to the portal?
Yeah, I think Clemson's always going to try to do it, I think, the right way. And that's quote unquote the right way, depending on who you ask. So sure, anytime Swinney and portal comes up, it's like throwing gasoline on a fire. So yeah. I think that Clemson, it would be probably naive to assume that Clemson hasn't poked around in certain portal targets at this point. And he had talked about if you're not trying to retain your players all year, then you're not doing it right. Well, if you're not recruiting in the portal all year, trying to figure out ways to grow the roster beyond whatever year you're currently working for, I don't think you're doing it right either. So maybe that's just something you put out there to save face, but I think at the same time, for Swinney, there is an element of they're going to try to do it the right way. They're going to try to live by the players, etc. We could go on and on about what type of way Clemson tries to operate. But I think with a year like this, where Clemson fans want to see some action in the portal, they want to see some action on the coaching staff, that comment probably wasn't the best thing for them to look at on Twitter.
Grayson, Mann of TigerNet, joins us here every week on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. It feels like we ask you about him every single week. Garrett Riley, it felt like a week ago or a little over a week ago, at least the rumors were that Garrett Riley was interested in communications with Coastal Carolina. Ultimately didn't get that job. Can you tell us now that that's not a possibility, to what point did that conversation reach with Coastal?
Yeah, it's my understanding he was a serious candidate for that coaching job, Diesel, and was potentially ready to take the job. But there were a lot of logistical factors involved in there, as well as some interest from Ryan Beard of Missouri State. Ultimately ended up being the more attractive candidate. But yeah, for Riley, this was a serious option for him and something that we were monitoring for a long time in terms of just that stretch of hours when it initially reported until Beard eventually got the job. It seemed like Riley was one that it wouldn't have shocked us if he had ended up getting that position. So 2 group of 5, I guess you're part of that rumor mill for 2 jobs and you ultimately fall out on 2. Now the question comes, do Clemson and Garrett Riley try to give it one more go in 2026, or are they going to eventually part ways? That's going to be an interesting conversation. He was at practice today. He was engaged, and we've been told that he's been in the building and just treating it as business as usual. So Riley still coaching and operating like all is well in Clemson.
Grayson, just going back to like the mid part of the season when things were not going well for Clemson, not saying you, but a lot of the feel was as if Dabo's mind had already been made up. How have we gotten back to the spot where, maybe they're going to give it one more go? I thought Clemson fans thought that Dabo's mind was already made up.
Yeah, I'm sure there were indications that maybe he had already made up his mind. I still think that it's probably going to be a different offensive coordinator in 2026. That's just a gut feeling, just based off of kind of how things have gone. The marriage hasn't exactly been perfect. But at the end of the day, maybe there's an opportunity for them to discuss their options with a new quarterback, see how it operates post-Cade Klubnik. Riley's been tied to the hip at only one guy at that position, so maybe things work out differently on the other end. There's a lot of speculation for sure, and I think a lot of rumors change hands, Cole, throughout the course of a season. So a lot of moving parts there, and I think at a position that's so, heavily talked about, it's a fiery conversation anytime you bring it up. Obviously, we're going to be careful on our end to try to figure out how this all works out, but there was a point in time where I really seriously thought that Coastal was going to hire Garrett Riley and we'd be having a different conversation, right?
So you earlier you talked about the fact that Cade Klubnik is going to play in this Pinstripe Bowl, and don't know to what degree he's going to be available, and backup quarterbacks getting a chance to get in. I mean, do you believe that Dabo and especially Cade want to see this thing all the way through, no matter what? Victory is the most important thing, not so much an early look at who might be the quarterback next year.
Yeah, and Sweeney was asked that directly, Diesel, and he said that at the end of the day, they're just trying to win this game, and that's the most important thing. And so, yeah, Klubnik does give you the best option right now to win against Penn State, and I know a lot of fans want to see the future. They want to see if Vizina, a little bit more tape would maybe sway a decision here or there, or maybe a look at Denson could be a possible option. I know fans want the portal to be a potential option, so right now it looks like this is going to be Klubnik's last soiree with Clemson, and then we'll see where that all goes from there. I see the comment. That'll be interesting to monitor. It looks like Lagway and Clemson is not currently on the table, but we'll see.
Sam Levitt?
Maybe. We'll see.
We'll see. Grayson, you sound like our bosses now. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Hey, tomorrow night, a big one, right? Tomorrow night's a really big one. Clemson, South Carolina. I don't know, man. I told Diesel on the air last week I was giving Brownell like a pass, pumping the brakes on hitting the panic button after Alabama, BYU. And then I watched Saturday Clemson Mercer, and I wasn't enthusiastic. I mean, help me out here. Am I right to be kind of like, oh boy, here we go again? Or is there maybe in your mind a turnaround? Because I know the season hadn't even gotten into conference play yet. I get that, but it hasn't been the best start in my mind when you've seen Clemson go up against quality competition and even Mercer on Saturday.
Well, I think the most important thing for that group, and I think a theme of Alabama and BYU, was the inability down the stretch to find that extra gear to be able to get into some of those wins. Where at Alabama, it's kind of right there for you. You fall down the stretch. BYU, we've beaten that drum plenty of times. We know how that one ended. And against Mercer, a group that I think is a lot better than maybe the brand will give it credit for, where you're looking at the TV on Saturday, you're going, Mercer? Okay, like, sure. A lot of tough shots on Saturday. Mercer was frankly incredible, some of the things they're able to find, but I think for Clemson at the end of the day, that was a situation they needed to find themselves in, if that makes any sense, to be able to pull themselves out. And you had this back and forth. You were really having to claw for every basket. And for Clemson, in that final 8, they limited Mercer to just 3 makes. And I think so defensively, you found a way to lock it down. You made the important shots. You made the important stops. That's a formula for Clemson. I think they found their final 5 on the floor moving forward. And Foster, Porter, Dylan Hunter, Nick Davidson, and RJ Godfrey. We'll see if that's the formula that sticks. But ultimately, I think Clemson's figured something out on Saturday, regardless of who's the opponent.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's hard to say with this team because the season is still so young to figure out how they react. Number one, to losses and heartbreaking losses like they did against BYU. Do you think there was any kind of holdover or hangover from that BYU loss that maybe caused some of that first half slow and sluggishness from Clemson? Or was it just that Mercer hit them with something they didn't expect?
And Brownell had kind of alluded to it, that maybe it wasn't the best scheduling on their part to have this late arrival back home from New York City, stack that on with finals and a bunch of other obligations this team has to take care of at this time of year. And then you stack a Saturday game against a really good Mercer team that's a lot better than I think folks will give them credit for. And it just creates this possibility of trap game. And it nearly was. And so Clemson's able to pull its way out of it. They're certainly not going to need any motivation to get up or any just extra reason. It's South Carolina. They're going to be ready to go. So I think you had to just escape that one on Saturday. I've said as long as they finish 10-3 and beat South Carolina and Cincinnati and non-con, you finish that stretch on a positive note. No serious landmines. And at the end of the day, that's all you can ask for.
Grayson, my last question for you. Let's draw a scenario in which Christopher Vizina is your starting quarterback in 2026, going into Death Valley, playing Lane Kiffin and LSU, right? And we've seen in the past 6 to 8 months, we've seen Sam Levitt transfer to somewhere else. We've seen DJ Lagway transfer to somewhere else. And you also saw in the 2025 season some portal quarterbacks have pretty good campaigns. If that scenario were to play out, in your mind, what would that say about Dabo Swinney?
Yeah, I think that it's tough to project right now, although the idea of just getting to LSU in 2026, that is going to be fascinating on its own. But I think I've said on this show multiple times that I held the belief that Clemson's starter wasn't on the roster, or Clemson's 2026 starter wasn't on this roster. I think that the portal is a very hit and miss. Like, there's no in between. You either got a stud or a dud. And for Clemson, that's the evaluation process they're going to have to go through. I think it could depend on who's on the staff to be able to push it in the right direction. We've seen Clemson have success in that evaluation in the portal. I think Will Helt and Jeremiah Alexander, it's safe to say they've been hits in their own respective rights as a starter and a depth piece. So quarterback's a tricky one. I think Clemson should. Will they? I don't know. There's certainly going to be an indictment on Swinney if Vizina is your starter in 2026 and it doesn't go well, because you've had him on campus for the last several years and you should have a good idea of where you stand quarterback wise. And if it doesn't go well, we'll be talking about this in December 15th, 2026 about what it all means for sure.
You know, Grayson, from where I'm sitting, it looks like Dabo is intentionally slow walking his transfer portal policy. Again, the policy has always been, we're not going to get in bidding war. We're not going to throw a lot of cash at a guy up front to get him to come here. Well, that just means we're not committed to getting the best player we possibly can out of the portal. If we're going to wait until the portal opens before we start talking to guys, okay, now you're behind the 8 ball. If you're not going to throw cash at guys, okay, now you're even farther behind the 8 ball. And it feels like it's all kind of, well, this has been Dabo's plan all along. Sure, I'll be active in the portal, but I'm not going to do everything that I possibly can to go out and get the best possible players that I can. Am I dead on with that assessment, or is that unfair?
I think there's a mix to it, because I do believe Clemson had to outbid a lot of schools to retain the roster it has. Now, I know with hindsight being what it is, the roster that Clemson ultimately had wasn't good enough in 2025. But in this time last year, you had a lot of schools, a lot of serious contenders looking for guys like TJ Parker, trying to outbid guys for Peter Woods. So there was a level of spending that Clemson had to do. Now, granted, it was on their home floor. So there's that argument to be made, Diesel, that, yeah, maybe in the portal they don't do as enough of the big spending. But I don't think Clemson's been in a position like this yet to where there's been that need outside. You got a guy like Will Helt off of a few other schools. You were able to poach Jeremiah Alexander. So they've had their successes, but it's never been to the necessary level where you have to go get 8 to 12 guys in the transfer portal. This is a new road that Clemson and Dabo Swinney are having to take, and it'll be interesting to see if that statement holds up. I think we're going to find a lot about this program's philosophy in that sense in the coming weeks.
Grayson, I lied to you. One more real quick here. You made me think of this when the way you answered that last question that I asked you with Garrett Riley. We've seen in the past 2 weeks a lot of head coaches and assistant coaches be hired and fired. Is Clemson's bowl game hurting their chances of finding a good offensive coordinator not named Garrett Riley?
Well, I will say Sweeney's always been pretty methodical on this front, where they've had their guy lined up ready to go if they're going to make a decision like that. And you look at what happened last year. Clemson waited till the semifinals of the playoffs to make a move with Tom Allen. And so maybe Clemson's eyeing a guy that's currently, I'm just throwing this out here for the sake of hypotheticals so no one's like, oh, this is what Grayson's saying as gospel. But what if JMU's OC is a guy that Clemson really likes? They got to wait for him to be done. Or Oregon, or we could throw at Alabama, just throwing out random teams. But maybe that's a situation where Clemson's in a wait-and-see mode to see how this field shakes out in the postseason to maybe make a move. That could be one thing they're monitoring.
Grayson, you work your ass off in the summer. You work your ass off all season long, and it shows. We appreciate you as always.
Thanks, man.
I appreciate you guys. Have a great week.
You too,
well.
Grayson, man. TigerNet.com. Always fun stuff. And we went long, but my gosh, Grayson, we'll do it to you. Really good stuff there.
Well, every time you think, oh, there's another question I want to ask. There's another question I want to ask. Cole, we didn't get a chance to get to all of our daily wires earlier, so let's put a bow on those in a short segment next.
Wire to Wire with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
Well, so much happened over the weekend, Cole. We got to double up on our daily wires to get them all in. This is the Buzz Part 2. As we mentioned earlier, Kalen DeBoer said, I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not going anywhere. Not taking the Michigan job. Well, here goes another candidate off the board. Kenny Dillingham and Arizona State say they are working towards finalizing a new enhanced, and we all know what that means, contract to keep him at Arizona State.
Enhanced. Keyword. I like it.
Yeah. Navy topped Army 17-16 in the 126th playing of the annual game. Army had an opportunity. They had a chance to put the game away in a 4th and goal situation. Navy quarterback Blake Horvath fumbled. The ball bounced around. Army's linebacker Eric Ford was right there. He could have just jumped on the ball, but instead he tried to pick it up. That didn't work. It just kept bouncing around like a bean, and the ball eventually bounced to Navy's Eli Heidenreich. He recovered, and on the very next play, of course he did, Blake Horvath threw a touchdown that tied the game.
I've got a Army-Navy overreaction in the very next segment.
All right. Last week in the White House, I think this came out Thursday or Friday of last week, Donald Trump called NIL and the portal a disaster for college sports and a disaster for the Olympics. He says colleges are putting too much money into football. He also opined on the reality that schools are offering massive amounts of money to players who may not amount to giving them championships. He's right. He's absolutely right. Clemson trailed at halftime to Mercer on Saturday, but thanks to a strong defensive second half, they held the Bears to just 24 points compared to their 39 first half points. The Tigers rallied to win 70-63. South Carolina handled the Citadel 71-55. Michie Johnson led the team with 19 points. He went 7 of 11 from the floor and had 3 assists. We talked about this in the opening segment with a golden opportunity to solidify their bid to clinch the NFC South. The Panthers fell yet again to the Saints 20-17.
And the Bucs were sitting there thinking, y'all were excited when we lost? To who?
Yeah.
The Saints, you couldn't handle your business.
Yeah, both are tied at 7-7, tied for the division. Now, to win the division, the Panthers would have to either sweep the Bucs or split with the Bucs, beat Seattle in Week 17, and have the Bucs lose at the Dolphins on December 28th.
Wow.
The New York Jets have fired defensive coordinator Steve Wilks after a 48-20 loss to the Jaguars yesterday. The Jets defense gave up scores on 8 of its first 9 drives.
That's Steve Wilks. He used to be a good coach, remember?
Yeah, he was. Cole's Cowboys wasted another impressive performance by Dak Prescott. They fell to the Vikings 34-26. 294 yards for Dak. No touchdowns, but he did get him into field goal range 4 times.
Oh, that's good.
So, yeah. So maybe I should start calling him FGR Dak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
And a reminder to all that starting Wednesday, we'll be picking bowl games that will be played after Christmas Day.
Make sure you explain that to JT and Greer, by the way.
JT and Greer, after Christmas, post-Christmas. That means the same thing. All games played after Christmas will be available to pick starting Wednesday at 4 o'clock. And this is our last week of the Upset Picks Challenge.
Oh, ever?
No, not ever.
Okay, good.
Come on. This thing is too much fun.
I was just making sure. And I also am sure, Diesel, that, we had like 3 callers, 3 Tolos set the bar. I would say in a good spot, not a great spot. They called in during the 4 o'clock segment. We need to see if we can take it up a notch and set the bar even higher. Phone lines back open. Overreaction Monday. On the other side, what is your sports overreaction from the weekend? We want to hear from you. 844-326-3663. Before we come back to or from break, let's get the phone lines stacked right here on the Fan Upstate.
This, you're going wire to wire
With Diesel and Cole Bryson.
on the Fan Upstate.
Diesel, is this an overreaction? Every single time I try to eat healthy, drop LBs, and really slim down on the waistline, I find myself blaming sports because sports are a reason that we as Americans can't skinny up. We can't slim up because of sports. They create us to be stressed. They make us stressed. Therefore, we eat. And then there's a game on, Monday Night Football. Well, how are you going to watch Monday Night Football without something good to eat, right? Because nobody watches Monday Night Football and eats a salad. Is that an overreaction that sports may be to blame? Because I did not do good this weekend, eating-wise. I don't know about you. I know you went to the company Christmas party. I did not. Hopefully you were
I ate a lot.
picky.
I wouldn't say I ate well.
Okay, well, you ate a lot of something good or bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. Every time, and holidays, it's like, well, holiday. You can't eat healthy during the holiday. How do you eat healthy during the holiday? Sports are just as bad as the holidays.
Well, there is that conspiracy, and it's a comedic commercial that sports were designed just to sell us food. And I think it might have been a Grubhub commercial. I don't know whose commercial it is. But think about this, Cole. There's all this time that we could be spending out and about doing things, but sports have decided to take up every single night of the week. You got Monday Night Football, Tuesday night Maction, Wednesday night Fun Belt, Thursday night NFL, Friday night high school football, Saturday and Sunday are gobbled up. Look, I mean, we used to be able to go out and be active way more often. But sports have really fanned out across the weekly schedule to give you a reason almost every night to stay at home, sit on the couch, be sedentary, and watch TV.
But it gets dark at 5:30. And then you're going to put football on at 8. So when you want me to get off work at 7 and get all the way to Spartanburg, Bowling Springs by 7:45, you want me to go out and be active? No, it's dark. It's 4 degrees outside. I'm going to go inside, and I'm probably going to watch sports. And guess what? I'm going to eat a poor choice of a meal because, like I said, nobody's ever said, hey, you want to come and watch the game? A buddy of mine just texted me, said, we're watching Monday Night Football tonight. There goes my eating healthy today, right? Like, how do you do it?
You get made fun of if you come over with a salad.
Yeah, I mean,
you can't do that.
What are you, a woman? I'm not going to eat anything tonight. Sissy. What do you mean you're not going to eat anything? I mean, that's what it's sports' fault. It is sports. They are to blame. By the way, Shane Barrett says, I had a chocolate chip cookie for breakfast.
Attaboy, Shane. Attaboy. I think there needs to be a new version of weight loss drug called Brozempic where you just get to sit there, eat pizza, watch sports, and lose weight.
I'm telling you, I've always asked the question, when food was created, why couldn't the good foods that taste good be healthy? Why? You ever thought about that?
Yeah.
Why do all the foods that are healthy nobody likes? Nobody likes the good foods. You said it, the pizza. I had Five Guys for dinner last night. You think that's healthy?
It's because all the best foods have umami.
Oh, yeah.
And sorry, there's no
mommy
in salad.
I know.
There's no
mommy
in rice.
No, it's just so hard. I'm going to say that after Christmas, when sports are over and the holidays are over, I'll do better. Yeah. And then to make matters worse, whoever does our rundown scheduled 5:45, a live taste test of our coworker, Charlie James. So before the show starts, he brings in these desserts that I don't know if he made them, his wife. I don't know. Well, do you know who made those?
I don't.
At 5:45, we're going to ask the question, what's the best Christmas holiday dessert? And we're going to live taste test these desserts that Charlie James from 98.9 brought over. I don't know what they taste like or anything. I hadn't tasted them. But how do you eat healthy this time of year?
You can't get motivated to get up early in the morning and go to the gym before work. I get that we work kind of basically a hybrid, first, second shift. I can't, if I got to be up until 11:30 midnight every night watching sports, I don't want to get up at like 6 a.m. and go to the gym. I'm not going to do that.
I'm so good at finding reasons not to work out.
Oh, you're elite at that.
I'm Olympic level. So good. You just said it. Stay up late last night. I had to be in Greenwood this morning at 8:30. How am I going to work out on a day where I had to be in Greenwood at 8:30? You and I don't get off the air till 7. You expect me to go work out tonight? No.
That's what I have to do. I have to go to the gym and miss like first halves of games.
It's so hard. It really is. It's tough. Eric Hines says, blame your willpower, Cole. I know. I also, so is that an overreaction? Would blame sports? It's sports' fault that I'm fat.
But you know it, and you won't do anything about it. That's called addiction, Cole.
I love food.
Yeah.
Let's go to the phone lines, 844-326-3663. What is your overreaction, Tolos? Again, 844-FAN phone. We want to hear from you. Sports-related. If it's not sports-related, we'll still take your call. Whatever your overreaction is, we start with Dan B. What's up, Dan?
Yeah, I got 3 quick ones. I believe it's Uber Eats is the commercials, and they are pretty funny.
Yep.
I forget who. They have a few famous people in those commercials. Second is Go Navy, Beat Army. That was a heck of a game, man. That was an edge of the seat kind of thing.
Where were you mentally when Navy's quarterback fumbled twice on that same play?
Ooh.
Oh yeah, I don't. It's like, oh my, yeah. No, he didn't. He, for as good as his stats are, he didn't show out like he's done in the previous years. I mean, he did okay, but he didn't dominate. So I mean, it was a tough game, but it always is that way. It doesn't matter how bad or good one of the two teams is. They always match up. I won't say always. They usually match up pretty well. So, and the last one was. I'm gonna get on those awesome Cowboys. The Diddy run into the end zone.
Gritty, not Diddy.
Gritty, right? Gritty.
Huge difference, Dan. Huge difference.
Diddy didn't it? No. I just thought it was hilarious. I mean, I was faked out. I honestly thought the running back had the ball. Yeah. That was one of the best quarterback sneaks. Literally, definition of the word. I mean, everybody, the camera didn't even know for a second. Yeah. So, I mean.
And Dan had the audacity, Diesel, to text me when it happened. And I was just so, Dan, I was just so mad. I have, it's funny that not talking about you, when the Cowboys lose, Diesel, I hear from people I have not heard from in 5 years.
Oh, yeah. When it's your birthday, like 3 people text you. When your team loses, 30 people text you.
I hadn't talked to you in 6 years, but now you're texting me back on the – no lie. Buddy of mine lives in Pennsylvania. Text me yesterday. How about them cow? I mean, I hadn't heard from you in years.
You bring it on yourselves. You know that, right?
Dan, you're the man. Dan. Appreciate you. I do want to get to the Army-Navy because I have an overreaction about that. Let's go to the phone lines. Dewey.
Do you think Dewey drips his faucet when it's going to freeze?
I'll tell you, I didn't last night. I was supposed to.
Did you drip your faucet?
I drip my faucets because I'm not a plumber and I don't want to have my pipes bust. So, Cole, if you don't drip your pipes are going to bust and you'll be called Chris Justice for help.
He does plumbing now, do he?
Well, he tells the weather and he should have told you what the temperature was going to be. But he lies, so I don't know. But anyways, you talk about food and sports. Well, sports encourages alcoholism because that's all I do is drink beer and watch sports, especially the football crap. And I'll tell you what, Bryce Young, I gave him the benefit of the doubt last week. He's no leader. He's a little scrawny little boy. He needs to go back to college football and learn to play the game. He's a Tim Tebow wannabe, and he sucks. And
Dewey, what are your thoughts on non-alcoholic beer? You can drink that instead.
That should be illegal.
I'm just offering you a solution to your problem.
That's like sugar-free Mountain Dew. That should be illegal. But yeah, but Bryce Young, he sucks. He's no leader. I'm not ready yet to throw Dave Canales under the bus, but he's probably going to be under the bus soon. But they're not making the playoffs. There's no way they're beating Seattle. And they're not going to beat Tampa. Tampa has too much. Baker Mayfield has experience. And
when do they play Seattle?
I think at the end, I don't know, or somewhere in the middle of in between Tampa Bay and Tampa Bay. So I don't know.
They played Tampa Bay twice, right?
Yeah.
They played Tampa Bay. They play not this weekend, but next weekend. I don't know. Did they play Seattle?
The Panthers? Yeah, they play Seattle in between the games.
Oh, between the
two Bucs games.
Gotcha. Okay.
Unless Sam, whatever his name is, lays an egg, they're going to lose that game. Darnold, whatever his name is. But Bryce Young, he sucks. He needs to go back to college football and just leave football altogether. And the Dallas Cowboys, they suck too.
Thanks, Dewey.
Wow. All right. Yeah. It's always hard to mentally recover after a Dewey call.
Yeah,
what did I just hear?
I do. I feel the same way. It's like you just need to go straight to commercial break. You just need a reset, you know?
What did he say?
It's like, can I get a translator? Can I get 3 ibuprofen, a translator, and some, I don't know. I don't know what Dewey just said, but phone lines, Stolos, are open, 844-326-3663. Diesel, I do want to go back to the Army-Navy game that Dan B brought up. Again, perception's reality. I'm not saying it's true, but I feel like I love the Army-Navy game Saturday. Love it. I feel like it's the only pure sporting event left in sports. I feel like it. I know you say, we'll call that those guys. It just feels as if you can sit down, watch the game, and it's about sports. It's about our country. And I don't know. I just feel like it's the only good sport. The Super Bowl, it's a good game, but you've got all these other. It's more about the show and the halftime and the commercial. It just feels like the only good thing left in sports. Am I off there?
No, you're absolutely right. And a majority of it stems, in my mind at least, from the fact that, number one, these are all incredible young men and women on playing on the teams and who are serving in those respective academies. They're the best of us, and none of them get to just up and leave whenever they want to, right? There's still a commitment has been made to their academy first, to their football team second. None of these guys would dream of transferring out, or very, very, very few of them end up transferring out. I think it's probably a pretty hard thing to do to get out. I mean, these are guys that are committed in every sense of the word. And the fact that we have no commitment around the rest of college football, to me, has been, for me personally as a fan, has been highly detrimental to me caring about my team. And you don't even have to know the individual players to understand what it means to them to win this game.
And you know what, man? You just watch it and you just feel like, I don't know, but you just feel like it's more than just a game, you know? Like you just said it right there, Diesel. I mean, it is about two services that are going at each other. And while it's a good game, like Saturday's game, talking strictly football, Saturday's game was really good. It was a really entertaining game, but you just feel it, like all of the crowd shots of all of the military in the stands and the energy and the enthusiasm and them at the beginning of the game and the patriotism. It just feels like one of the last few sporting events we have that just feel really pure. And I don't know. I love it. I hate that we only get one a year.
Yeah. Packed house, massive attendance there. And just the weight, not the weight, maybe that's not the right word, but just the weight of all of our country paying attention to one game on a Saturday.
It is.
That was special. And it's one of those things that, even if you didn't serve in the military, you probably know somebody who did, or you have family who did, that gives you a rooting interest in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, my grandfather was in the Navy. My wife's grandfather was in the Navy. So it gave us both reasons to cheer for Navy in this game, even though you're like, I know all those dudes on that Army team are fine individuals and they are certainly worthy of respect.
Real quick before we go to the phone lines, this is too funny not to read. We have a new Tolo, and by the way, Chef DRL, appreciate you watching the show on YouTube. Tolo stands for Turn On, Leave On. That's what we call each of you. After the Dewey phone call, Chef DRL commented and said, "I'm new here." What was that?
guess what, Chef? You will momentarily in the stream, he'll jump back on there and start commenting.
Yeah.
You can talk to Dewey himself.
Yeah, you never
because
know.
he is usually on the stream commenting.
Phone lines are still open. We go back to the phone lines, 844-326-3663. We go to Somerville, where Tom in Somerville has an overreaction on this Overreaction Monday. What's up, Tom?
Hey, guys. You know, I was watching that Army-Navy game the other day. Great football game. But my question is this. What the heck's going to happen when those two teams are fighting for a playoff spot? Because if you think about it, we almost had it last year, and we didn't. But what happens when those two teams are sitting there, you know, right on the cusp of 13, 14, and they're playing? What are they going to do? Because at that point, I mean, do you delay the selection, you know, Sunday a whole nother week? Because it's only a matter of time before that happens. And trust me, you thought Notre Dame fans were mad and how they acted like a bunch of little kids. Imagine if you got, you know, somebody like Texas or Alabama in the future that's got to wait on the outcome of the Army-Navy game. And it's played a week after the SEC championship.
It almost feels, Tom, like it's inevitable that they will have to move Army-Navy to conference championship weekend. I don't want that to happen, but it feels like you have to align it calendar-wise with what the other conferences are doing, number one, so that it doesn't continue to drag the playoff out even longer. And hey, maybe if the answer one day is just to eliminate conference championship games,
there you go.
You move that up a week and you play it the week that conference championship games would be.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I can really think about when I was watching that game is just imagine when that happens, because it's only a matter of time. I mean, in the current format, it's only a matter of time. You know, also, I was excited about the Atlanta Braves this weekend. They made a couple they've signed a couple guys out of free agency. Yastrzemski's going to be pretty good. They signed that closer. I don't know how to say his name, but they got the closer. So, you know, maybe they'll continue on this, you know, this positive streak, and Chef can see the positive side of Dewey, which we've all been waiting to see for a long time.
Hey, Tom.
I often wonder if Dewey ever had a good day. And hopefully one day soon the Braves will allow Dewey to be happy and he'll have a good day.
Tom, did you see
–
let me ask you this real quick, Tom. Did you see the audio? I don't know if you follow 680 The Fan in Atlanta much, but the audio the other morning, it went pretty viral of one of their morning show hosts saying that the Braves championship window was pretty much closed. Did you see that audio?
I have not seen it yet. I need to watch it. I mean, let's be honest. Outside of the Dodgers, who has a championship window? I mean, if we're being honest.
They're buying up everybody.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, it is what it is. Cole, sorry about your Cowboys last night. You know, it's just time to maybe chalk it up.
Yeah.
As Cowboys fans like to say, maybe next year. And I don't think enough people are giving Tyler Shuck credit. That was the best quarterback drafted last year, and he has beaten the Carolina Panthers. So shout out to Tyler Shuck. I was laughing watching the Panthers lose to the Saints yesterday because the Panthers had no business losing to the Saints, and they did, and that made my weekend.
Not once, but twice.
Exactly. My overreaction is the Carolina Panthers will not make the playoffs, and I will thoroughly enjoy that. So that's all I got.
Dang, good
I
call.
miss talking to you guys. Go Gamecocks. R.I.P. Steve Taneyhill.
Yes,
Thanks,
absolutely.
Tom. Think about it this way. Since Tyler Shuck took over in New Orleans, they've won 3 out of 5.
Not bad.
I mean, if you win 3 out of 5 over the course of an extended, extrapolated season, you're a playoff team.
You're a playoff team. Yeah, the bad thing is, though, man, you hated to see him do it twice against those Panthers. I mean,
It's
and
rough.
look, he's a good quarterback. I mean, he's a good quarterback. He was drafted, he had a good college career, but hated for Spencer Rattler, right? Like that didn't turn out well at all. And maybe Diesel, his career, at least in New Orleans, has pretty much come to a close.
At least not in the game yesterday.
He to throw one toward the sideline.
What's the matter? Tyler Shuck's shoulder was sore from throwing all those yards against Carolina.
I
Why'd
was
you bring him
what
in?
are they doing?
Yeah.
What are they doing? It's good stuff, though.
Yeah. When we come back, Cole, it is time to take a look around the transfer portal. Now, the window is not open yet, but some big names keep announcing their intention to enter it. We'll get into that. And I want to ask you, Tolos, what are you grabbing a hold of when it comes to your team, your roster? Now that guys are just in and out in the transfer portal. That's next.
fanupstate.com. The ball's
Here
in
we
your
go.
court. Sound off now at 844 fan phone.
This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
You know, I hear this song, Cole. All I can think of is Cousin Eddie wearing flippers and swimmies with a beer in his hand, waiting to jump into Clark's theoretical swimming pool, who then somehow morphs into a beautiful young lady in a red bikini.
Is there anything better that you could be thinking of right now, though, than Cousin Eddie?
I don't even want to talk about sports. I want to think about the woman in the
That's
red
what I'm
bathing
saying.
suit.
I know. It's Christmas
man.
vacation.
She's a Coppola, by the way. I don't know if you knew that.
No.
That the actress who played Mary. The
Mary's
object.
she has a name?
Yeah, her name was Mary. The object of Clark's lust in that movie.
Yeah.
She was related to Francis Ford Coppola.
No, I didn't know that.
Believe it or
By
not.
the way, very underrated Christmas song. Maliki
That's a great movie.
I'm talking
great
about
song.
Great song.
Yeah.
It's so good.
But you know what? You know what we should be talking about? Why in the world, when Clark Griswold has Ellen at home, and let's be real, Beverly D'Angelo was an absolute stone cold fox in that movie. Why is he thinking about Mary?
Well, it all ties into the pool.
Yeah, I guess.
And you could ask your own more of the same question, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I guess it wouldn't be the Christmas season if the stores weren't any hotter than they are.
God, it's so good.
Cole, I don't know if now is the least enviable time to be a head coach in college football. I mean, it's great because you get hired on and you get gigantic salaries and gigantic buyouts if things go awry, and you do get fired from your jobs quickly if you're not winning championships. But if you're a head coach right now, Cole, do you realize that the game has completely changed? No longer are you in a develop and build and hope that next year is going to be better than this year. Nowadays, if you're a coach, especially at any school that's not one of the top 25 programs in college football and is going to spend like the top 25 programs in college football, basically you are tasked with getting lucky, with threading a ridiculously small needle and hoping that you can put together a combination of players that can gel quickly and win quickly, because guess what? You're probably not going to have them next year. Poof, they're entering the transfer portal. They're going to be gone.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's about risk, right? Like, I think when you talk about coaching in this modern era of college football, I think I'm sitting here in my head trying to decipher everything you just said, and it all comes back to risk, because we know there's risk involved with the portal. We get that. Grayson, Mann said it earlier. Some of these portal guys have hit. Some of them didn't hit. But at the same time, like, let's take for a Cade Klubnik, for example, going back to your point a minute ago. Yeah, you've got to almost, I guess you've got to hope that your recruiting talent evaluation process is stronger than other coaches' portal evaluation process, portal talent evaluation process. And the thing about it is, Diesel, there's so many more proven commodities in the portal. You take Sam Levitt and DJ Lagway, for example, going back to the R word that I just brought up. Think about it. It's risk. It's risk. Okay, if you have Sam Levitt and DJ Lagway here, or if you go to this side of the pool and you've got these high school recruits, you're going to do it the blue chip old-fashioned way. That's fine. But where is there less risk?
Yeah, and it feels like the moment you choose to jump over a player that you recruited at a high school, that you made all these promises to, hey, you're going to be our guy. We're going to work with you for a year or two. We're going to develop you. The moment you break that trust and bring in a DJ Lagway, since his name, JB threw his name out there, I hear he's tied to Clemson, or Sam Levitt or whoever it is. The moment you break that trust, it is broken forever inside of your program.
Sure.
But at the same time, when you do things the traditional old-fashioned way, you risk winning 7 games a year, and that kind of being the ceiling of what your program can be. So it is a very, very difficult spot to be in. As a matter of fact, like, you can't even say, all right, we're going to build our program on 3-star guys who are going to be appreciative of the fact that we brought them in and they're going to stick around longer. That's not the case either. Those 3-star guys are going to enter the portal just as fast, sometimes even faster, because they have this notion that, well, I spent 1 year here and I spent 1 year there. I'm just going to keep on rising my way up the ranks. And these kids are risking a lot too. They're entering the transfer portal, risking the idea that they might not have a place if they try to test the waters, if they try to step out of the relationship and talk to the pretty girl. There's no guarantee that their school's going to let them back in.
But it's just it all comes down to the instant gratification world that we live in. Like, you want what you want yesterday. You want your bonus, your pay raise, your next opportunity yesterday. You want to be the next starting quarterback on a national championship team yesterday. You want the next 5-star yesterday. And I think Lane Kiffin's like a perfect example of that, right? As much as I like Lane Kiffin, I think we live in this yesterday society to where it makes programs like Dabo Swinney's Diesel look bad because he's not in this instant gratification process. He's not in the give it to me yesterday process. And the result of that sometimes is a 7-win season, like you said. So if you're willing to be the coach that can live and die by the 3-point ball, right, then you've got to live by it and you've got to die by it. Fortunately, Diesel, for Dabo Swinney, guess what? He's got 2 national championships. I don't know if Dabo Swinney were coaching today without those 2 natties. I don't know. I'm not so sure that Dabo's philosophies would be the same.
Well, I'm not sure that Dabo would be as safe in his position. With Dabo Swinney, if you take away those 2 national championships, even pretending for a fact they were still making playoff runs, they just didn't win the national championships. If Dabo was sitting here with no natties, would Graham Neff have moved on from him a couple of years ago?
Right.
Or, would they make that decision and say, you know what? We are a 10 or 11 win caliber of program. We need to hire a coach that can take us to the next level. Would they effectively do what Penn State did with James Franklin and say, hey, I know you're winning us 35 games over the course of 3 years, but that's not good enough here at Clemson. We need to take that next step.
Well, the reality is past success does something. Right? Like, you just leave. If you take that sentence right there and leave it open-ended, that's fine. Never complete that sentence, Diesel. Past success does something. You interpret it how you want. You take it how you want. Past success for a lot of people can strive you to be more and more hungry.
Yeah.
Past success for a lot of people can bring you to a place of complacency where you're not as eager as you once were. Hey, even past success can change the way or keep you in the mindset of a thought, of a system that's old, outdated, of a way of doing things that may not work in today's modern college football. My point being, I just so much believe that those 2 national championships mean something. Dabo Swinney is able and allowed to operate in this manner. And going back to what we talked about with Grayson Mann Diesel, he's not going fishing for these guys right now. He hadn't even cast a line. From what he says, he hadn't even thrown the fishing rods, thrown the line out into the lake yet. So if you don't have bait down there for that school of fish when it comes through, who do you blame? You blame you.
Looking at it from a player perspective, does legacy mean anything to this current generation of college football players?
Legacy?
Is the idea of legacy completely dead? And are we going to be looking back 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, in the spot on the wall where Clemson calls it the Ring of Honor? Every school's got something similar to that, where you're going to see a big old gap from around 2019 to whenever they decide to get a hold of the transfer portal and keep guys from bouncing every single year, even if they have great seasons, even if their head coach comes back, even if their offensive coordinator comes back, even if they're stepping into a starting role next season, they just say, you know what, that doesn't mean anything to me at all. I'm going to be gone. I'm wondering, outside of maybe 25 schools or so that have the money to re-recruit their own roster to the tune of millions of dollars, and re-recruiting their own starters to the tune of millions of dollars every year, what's going to become of legacy of any player at a school that needs that kind of annual development, that cannot just throw an assembly of superior talent out there on the field. I'm talking about the Georgia Southerns of the world, the App States of the world. I mean, I'm trying to think back who was the last great player on my team, and I got to go back like 5 years because I don't know any of the players that have played on this team over the past 3 or 4. Like, and to me, that's a sobering reality when the concept of legacy, the concept of seeing anything through whatsoever, is now effectively meaningless to an entire generation of players. And those generation of players are going to be the players that the next generation looks up to. Yeah. So it's going to be a continuation or a ramping up of the conditions that these current players are playing under in the future.
Well, I mean, are they being bribed with legacy? Or are they being told to come to this school because of legacy? I mean, what's drawing them in? Going back to the fishing illustration, the bait, Diesel, for these new athletes, or it has nothing to do with legacy. Sure. The bait doesn't smell like legacy. It doesn't smell like, honor and doing things the old-fashioned way. So, no, I mean, the intentions are not the same. The intentions have changed in such a dramatic way.
And changed so quickly. Like, you would think that, every now and again there's a player that's chasing the cash, but now it's all of them.
I just think there has to be balance. I love what I see in Athens. I love what Kirby Smart's done. I mean, like, if you look at this landscape, it's a wild landscape. Money matters. And Dabo Swinney, Diesel, like, he says a lot of the right things. And Beamer said it last week when we were talking to him on Friday down at the media, the press conference. You want cash available so that you can reward the guys who have done it the right way. When Beamer put out that video that I posted on Friday about ASAP wanting to know what his players' decisions were ASAP, a big reason that Beamer said that was because he wants to reward guys who are on his roster. Dabo Swinney wants to reward guys who are on his roster. And I think Kirby Smart's done as good of a job as anybody with this balance.
Yeah.
I mean, by the way, Kirby Smart has brought in 10 portal guys in the 2025 season. Going into this year, Kirby Smart brought in 10 transfer portal guys. Yeah. Depth, immediate impact kind of guys. It's not like overwhelming Florida State kind of overwhelming, but you've got to have some sort of balance, and I think Kirby's mastered it.
It's easy to master that when you're in the enviable position, number one, that you are one of, if not a top 2 or 3 caliber program in the country for a decade going back. All the best players want to come play for you. And then if you've got limited holes because all the best players have come to play for you, you get to go fill them with the best guys off of other teams' rosters. I'm thinking about the situation of the bowl game that App State's going to play in. Both of our quarterbacks have started this year and entering the transfer portal.
Yeah,
we accepted a last minute bowl bid at a 5-7 team.
You're playing, by the way.
We're playing.
No, you.
Oh yeah, I guess so. I mean, when you're going to a postseason game that you accepted because other teams had to opt out. And then all of your quarterbacks that played for you this season all enter the transfer portal. What do you do? What do you do?
Run Wildcat?
I mean, and at the same time, James Madison did it this year and found tremendous success and got into the college football playoff on a team loaded with transfer portal guys. Yeah. So that's what you got to be. You got to be a Bob Chesney. You got to find a way. You got to figure it out, and you got to be the absolute best at putting together a ragtag bunch.
Joey on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line says part of Georgia's NIL package is bond and speeding ticket stipends. Funny. Texter says, did y'all hear about Steve Taneyhill dying earlier? Yes, we did. That was very unfortunate news. We briefly mentioned it in the Daily Wires, and he was a Gamecock great. And when you talk about the greatest of greats at that position, he's top 3, maybe top 5 of all-time greats at the quarterback position. So hate to hear that news about Steve Taneyhill. Diesel, I want to shift it to what we briefly got to earlier when it comes to Christmas desserts and why I can't drop LBs during the holidays. Two-part segment here. Number one, we're asking for the Tolo's best holiday dessert recommendations. What's at the top of your list? Hands down. I like white trash. Like the powdered cereal with all the peanuts, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We also, part 2 of this segment, we are going to live taste test our coworker's holiday treats that he dropped off. I don't know if he's sabotaging us, wants us dead, or just to have a Merry Christmas.
Just trying to slow us down.
But we're going to try them. I have no idea where are mine at? Did you
in
eat
your
mine?
office? They're in your office.
You ate them.
No, they're right. These are right here. Yours are in there.
All right, we're going to live taste test.
Keep your hands off mine.
Keep your hands off of you filthy animals. That's next.
Upstate.
Dan B says, don't do sweets much anymore, but used to love haystacks. You know, I don't think I've ever had haystacks. I know what they are. The little almost pretzel-looking things.
Yeah.
They're not pretzels, but
Haystacks are great.
they look good. So that's the question, Tolos. 844-326-3663. What is at the top of your holiday baking list? I love, personally, white trash is my number one. I know it has different names, and that might be offensive to some people listening, you know, in certain parts of the upstate, but it's okay. You'll get over it.
Forget them.
It's got the, you know, the powdered sugar, the peanuts, the pretzels, the peanut butter, diesels all mixed up in a bag. Oh, so good. What was your number one?
Oh, my number one, I don't know if it's necessarily a Christmas dessert, but my grandmother used to always make it at Christmas, so it feels like a Christmas dessert to me. Peanut brittle.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. That's good.
Is that a Christmas dessert?
Yeah, 100%.
Peanut brittle is amazing.
My 1B would be chocolate oatmeal cookies.
Great.
I know it's maybe not a Christmas dessert, but
I don't get down on anything minty.
No, I'm 100% with you on that.
Like
that's gross.
Peppermint brownies, peppermint bark, that kind of no.
Save the mints for when your breath stinks. I don't want your mints at Christmas,
and
right?
Let's be real, most gingerbread cookies are also very dry and unappetizing.
So speaking of dry and unappetizing, Charlie James from our sister station News Talk 98.9 WRD, he brought us these boxes. For those watching on the stream, they can see these boxes.
Yeah, and the box actually has the outline of a deer on it.
Mine has Santa.
Yours does?
Santa Claus.
Oh,
right?
cool.
Is that Santa or is that Darth Vader? You tell me. Look.
What is?
I think that's Santa, not Darth Vader.
Darth Santa.
What are these? Do we know? We're going to live taste test. And if they're really good or really bad, you Tolos can get on Charlie James's text line and fuss with them. Do we know what they are?
No. I mean, they're little white squares.
I have no idea what that is.
They're not. I'm gonna be real. I snuck one.
You did
earlier.
It's okay.
It looks like they're covered with.
Smells like a sugar cookie.
Yeah, it's covered with sugar, but it's like
that's good.
Large crystallized sugar.
There's that diet blowing that we're talking about, right? All right,
you lick one and you're gonna blow up.
No, it's okay. I'll eat one. All right, you ready? Let's taste test. Live taste test on air. You go first. You take. God, Diesel took a big bite. He dropped it on the floor. I'm going to go now. What'd you say?
It's flaky. Those would be hard to eat without a drink handy.
Yeah, some milk.
Does anybody know what these are?
I'll be honest with you. I think it's a sugar cookie square.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that before?
No, I've never heard of that. But these are delicious. This with a cup of coffee, get out of here. I could sit here and eat this whole box for breakfast tomorrow morning.
I don't know that I would use the word delicious.
What's wrong with them? Don't, and remember, I will clip this audio and send it to Charlie James. Wow, he's tossing them aside.
Yeah. I'll
You're
be
not
honest
even going
with
to
you.
go in for a second go?
Mm-mm.
See,
They
I
are
thought,
very, very thick and dry.
see, I thought these were Bob McLean's wife's famous. She makes banana and peanut butter squares every year for Elvis's birthday. Huge Elvis fan. And he used to love banana and peanut butter.
There's no banana. There's no peanut butter.
No.
There needs to be something. And those are dry. I love Charlie James, but those Tolos. Do not tell Charlie we said that, please. He's on the air.
Right,
he's on the air across the hall. So don't create any bad blood. We love Charlie, but they're very dry.
Tell Charlie that I had two. If you call him,
tell him I had
98.9
and Tolos.
Google the phone number, call him, tell Charlie that I had two.
Whoever wants my box can have it. Yeah, there's probably 10 left in there. Here's what I'll do. I'll make my version of my Christmas dessert. You mean do that?
Here's what you do. You take these, Cole, and you drizzle some caramel or chocolate sauce on them. Then they'll be good.
And maybe dunk them in some milk or something too. They're dry, man. Those things, it was like eating concrete for a minute. They're
tasty.
You're just being kind. You're being kind. They are dry.
I'm just playing politics here.
Man. I need something to wash them down. You're right.
You need
You need some water.
It sticks to the roof of your mouth.
All right, now I will do, I don't know if I'll get to it tonight. I will do white trash. I'll make it. I'll bring some and be a good coworker and bring you and Charlie and whoever else some and put them in. Yeah, I'll do that.
All right.
My white trash. So there's that. I apologize for criticizing Charlie's dry sugar cookie, whatever they are.
I'm gonna chat GPT, see if it knows what these are.
I'm just not a big fan. I feel like he left something out. What are you putting things to make him less dry? Again, that's mean. I shouldn't do that, but I don't know, man. Those were just mid. They were, as the kids say, they were very mid. That's my review of them. So apologize to Charlie. Texter the Madcraft says banana pudding and fudge is the only Christmas answer. Madcraft, banana pudding is not a Christmas dessert at all. That is just not a good. That's not a Christmas dessert. The question is Christmas dessert. Banana pudding is anytime dessert, right?
According to ChatGPT, these are shortbread squares, often called Scottish shortbread.
Well, tell the Scottish to keep them. Cole's not a fan.
Pale buttery color, crumbly texture, docked holes on top, cut into neat squares, light sugar sprinkled on the surface. This is shortbread. It's a traditional Christmas dessert.
Yeah, you can keep them.
Especially in the UK. There you go. Well, the UK, I mean, they eat like beans and mash. What do they know about food?
There you go. Official review. Appreciate that.
When
Charlie.
we come back, let's hear directly from the players and the coaches involved. A good old-fashioned audio blitz after a big-time weekend in the NFL. Confirm, Cole, with just a little bit of coffee, those shortbread squares are better.
Oh,
yeah. You
that's
take,
good to know.
You take half a bite of a square, little sip of coffee, and the thing literally just melts in your mouth.
I don't know if that's good or bad, because if a dessert has to be good when you can only pair it with coffee, I mean, what does that tell
Well, and you don't like coffee, so.
I like it if it's really, really doctored with a bunch of sugar and a bunch of cream cookies and all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Were a couple weeks ago. You and I were out on location at an Ingles Markets, by the way, on Wednesday. You'll be here in studio. I'll be live at the Ingles in Easley, the one on Pelzer Highway. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, I'm really tired. I need a coffee, but the line's really long. And our sales rep, Jay, was like, what do you want? I'll go stand in line for you and get it. I was like, oh, that's very, very nice of you. Just a grande coffee, black. Yeah. He's like, what? Really?
I know, that's kind of like against the law. You don't just order that.
When Jay gets his drink, it's always iced. It's the largest size. It's loaded with cream,
sprinkles,
and all kinds of stuff. It is the most frou-frou, over-engineered drink
ever.
It's
the best. By the way,
and he looks at me like I've got two heads because I'm just drinking black coffee.
You don't go to Starbucks and order black coffee.
Why not?
Nobody does that. Nobody does that. No, you got to order the frou-frou. Moog, the seasonal holiday drinks are so good.
But then you got to hit the gym twice as hard because you just consumed a
You'll get it on January 1st.
Calories.
January 1st, you'll get it. By the way, we cannot start the audio blitz without this leading the charge, with it being Christmas.
Marv, Harry, why the hell did you take your shoes off? Why the hell you dressed like a chicken?
Is that the best audio ever?
So good.
That's so good. I love Home Alone, man. Why the hell you take your shoes off? Why the hell you dressed like a chicken? It's unbeatable.
Hey, where's your gold tooth?
There's so many quotes out of that movie that are just underrated. Yeah. Like, we talk about Christmas Vacation with the quotes.
Yeah.
But Home Alone's got some good ones, man.
We started watching Jingle All the Way last night. Got to it late, so didn't get all the way through it. Spoiler alert. The kid doesn't get his Turbo Man doll.
Oh,
in case you've never seen the movie. But it was just so good. Like, movies then the story didn't necessarily have to make a lot of sense as long as you could tell it in a compelling way with likable characters. Cole, let's get into some audio here. And, you hear the way that people around college football and around the Army-Navy game especially talk about this game and what it means to them compared to the way that players talk about the NFL. It's very easy to see how much this game means and why people want to get back to these days. This is audio from Gary Danielson, who's 74 years old, just called his final Army-Navy game, unless they can throw some money at him next year to come back. He was asked what it means to him to have been calling this game for as long as he has.
This was your 17th and final Army-Navy game. No other analyst has had more appearances in the booth for this storied rivalry other than our guy, Gary. What has this game meant to you? What does it mean to you now as you step away and go into retirement?
I don't know. It's just opportunity. It's gratitude. It's, looking around at people that I respect, even the people that watch the game, how much the game means to them, a bit of nervousness when you're doing the game. You want to make sure you do justice that everybody plays in the game. But I guess the overall part of it, being able to last as long as I had in the business, I had great people around me. Vern, when I came to CBS, now my old partner back at ABC and Nestler coming with me here for the last, 9 years, Ness, or 10 years, it's been great. But also the people in the background. As much as I care about it, and the many games that I've done, almost all of our CBS crew, the cameraman that showed up here for the March On, our producer, Craig Silver, our director, Steve Milton. I mean, they've actually done more games than I have. So everybody that on our crew cherishes and takes seriously how much this game means to everyone who watches it, but also how much it means to CBS that we do a good job at it. We work very hard on it, and I'm just glad to be part of the team. I don't know. I don't want to say and be false modesty that I just rode along, but it really was good to have these great people around me.
Gotta love a guy that cares as much about the game that he gets choked up just talking about the responsibility that he feels in calling that game. That's huge.
And they do a good job with it. I mean, you can tell, like with the pageantry, D's love the game, the pre-ceremony activities. CBS does a great job, and hearing him on the call, man. I mean, he mentioned Vern Lundquist there. It's going to be different. I'm not excited that you told me that. Not really a fan of somebody else on the call, but it's magical. I think that's the best way you put it.
Yeah, I don't know if they've even announced who is going to be calling Army Navy in the future. I don't know if that person knows that they're going to be calling Army Navy in the future, but I guarantee you they'll come into this thing with a lot of reverence and respect for it, the same way, Gary Danielson has. And who knows, if they get to have a long run, I think they'll come out of it with far more appreciation for it than they went into it.
Yeah. No doubt.
Speaking of getting a little emotional, and God, it's hard not to when you hear somebody like that.
Easy, Diesel. You're getting chunked up over there.
Let's. It's the shortbread. Let's hear from Fernando Mendoza, his acceptance speech for winning the Heisman. He gets a little choked up too.
Mommy, this is your trophy as much as it is mine. You've always been my biggest fan. You're my light. You're my why. You're my biggest supporter. Your sacrifices, courage, love. Those have been my first playbook and the playbook that I'm going to carry through my side through my entire life. You taught me that toughness doesn't need to be loud. It can be quiet and strong. It's choosing hope. It's believing in yourself when the world doesn't give you much reason to. Together, you and I are rewriting what people think is possible. I love you.
I'm not commenting. I'm not going to comment because I was too mean earlier. Somebody texted in about it.
Such a nerd.
I'm not commenting.
I mean, look, it is endearing to see somebody be, that appreciative of winning that award. Could you imagine what Diego Pavia's acceptance speech would have been?
Yeah.
He'd walk up there with,
yeah.
I'm here, we here, me and the family, we're all here. Heisman Trophy, woo-hoo. That's what it would have been like.
It would have been smoke. They would have actually dropped confetti. Instead of confetti, it was going to be $2 bills just dropped down. That's what I heard, at least.
All of a sudden, all the ladies from the Gold Club up there would have come out.
Yeah.
They'd have been dancing. Let's hear one more little piece of audio from Fernando Mendoza. This is the final statement that he made in his acceptance speech.
I want every kid out there who feels overlooked, underestimated to know I was you. I was that kid too. I was in your shoes.
That's cool.
The truth is, you don't need the most stars, hype, or rankings. You just need discipline, heart, and people who believe in you. And you need to believe in your own abilities. I hope this moment shows you that chasing your dreams are worth it, no matter how big or impossible they seem. God bless. Go Hoosiers. Thank you guys all.
That was a great speech. Not going to lie.
Good.
It's really good.
You know what's interesting about that speech, though? All the words that he just said about being overlooked, about having to fight and believe in yourself, almost all of that made its way into Diego Pavia's apology statement. I believe in myself, and people have been doubting me for so long, and I just really wanted to win. I wonder if Diego Pavia ripped off his apology from Fernando Mendoza's acceptance.
Well, another thing is we brought up earlier in the show, I was kind of comparing Mendoza. I was kind of comparing Diego Pavia to Johnny Manziel, just like with their personality type, But I think the biggest difference, Diesel, between those two guys, between Diego Pavia and Johnny Manziel, in my opinion, is they both had this like semi-cocky personality, but Johnny Manziel's game was undeniably Heisman Trophy worthy.
Yeah.
I don't think Diego Pavia's game has been undeniably Heisman Trophy worthy.
He had games where he didn't show out.
Yeah.
He just simply had games where he did not show out. Let's hear from Dave Canales, who let his Carolina Panthers fall to the New Orleans Saints for the second time this year. Here he is talking about his decision-making on that final offensive possession.
Dave, can you tell us about that last offensive series, kind of what you saw and why you called that last offensive series the way you did? Is there something the defense was showing?
Oh, just trying to take advantage of our matchups and the coverages that I was seeing them roll out there. And we didn't amount to get much. Bryce took a scramble and made a play for us right there. But I thought they did a good job of matching it. And at the end of the day, whether it's zone or man, it ends up in one-on-one matchups, and we count on our guys to get that done.
Yeah,
Thanks,
the final
Dave.
possession ended in a fumble, by the way.
Thanks, Dave. That was what did we
unless
learn
he's
in
talking
that?
about the punt. Unless he's talking about the punt possession, which was incompletion, short right, incompletion, short right, 11-yard run, sacked, 5-yard pass, 7-yard run, 8-yard penalty, punt the ball away, and let the Saints walk down the field to get the game-winning field goal. Here's Dave Canales on the mood inside of the Panthers locker room after taking one on the chin to a 4-win team.
There's two things going on. There's a lot of guys who are really disappointed because of the missed opportunity that we had, and at the same time, there's a lot of great leaders in that locker room that understand we got a lot of football in front of us. We have to make sure that we move on quickly. We look at the film, we make sure we tidy up the things that we need to, and get ready for the next game. And that's really got to be the mentality, so we stay together and finish this thing.
You don't lose to the Buns Saints and then have to tidy things up.
Yeah.
You lose to a good team and you tidy things up. You need to fix a lot of things.
Yeah, they're just too inconsistent. And again, we talked about it in the very first segment with the defense not playing great, right? Blowing that game down the stretch. Bryce Young not being overpoweringly good, I guess is the best way to describe it. Like he just doesn't will his way, every time you want him to. And again, I know he's got game-winning drives, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, like Bryce Young had one touchdown, $150, whatever. It's just not overpowering. I say all that to say, I think while there are fair criticisms, Diesel, I don't think Dave Canales in the big spotlight's been good. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what the disconnect is, but the big moments this year when I've watched the Carolina Panthers, and there hadn't been as many, right? Because they're not given as many primetime games and big moments. You just don't watch Dave Canales and think, man, that guy's really got it going on. Like he's in his zone. You don't think that.
It feels like he needs a steady hand who's been around the league for a while, or more of them inside of his camp. Compare that to a guy that is brand new as a head coach in the NFL, Ben Johnson, who first season, he's got his 10th win. Here he is talking about what it feels like to win 10 games in your first year.
Not really. We're on to the next one. It's 10's great, but it's not enough.
It's not enough.
Not enough.
Where's Dave Canales saying, hey, 17 points, not enough to get it done on the road in this division? It's just simply not enough.
Not enough. Real quick, I want to play this audio. Yep. You saw what happened with the Patriots and the Bills yesterday. The Patriots were up like 24-0. Yeah. An incredible choke job by New England. And I mean incredible. Here's Mike Vrabel after the game being asked about Josh Allen. And,
what is it?
What makes him so good?
Maybe in film, why he's able to do this sort of game in and game out.
I mean, it's the same thing everybody else sees. He's 6'5", 250 pounds, runs fast, hard to tackle, hard to get down on the ground. It's accurate, strong arm. Like I'm giving you, dissertation on a league MVP. It's like, just watch all the games and know that it's just the same as it was last week. You had a guy free, weren't able to make the play. Last week's team had a guy free, weren't able to make the play. Like that's why they draft him, and that's why they pay him $60 million. Like I don't know what to tell you.
Sometimes there's just not enough words to explain.
It still makes me go back to that video. I know you know the video that I'm talking about. The fan who was filming himself during draft day, who was distraught when the Bills drafted Josh Allen.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That video will live in infamy. As a matter of fact, here is Josh Allen himself talking about the resiliency of his team to be able to come back from that big-time hole they were in against the Patriots.
Well, Josh, unfortunately, first halves aren't optional. Another win, another second half comeback. What is it about you and this group that seems to thrive in those moments?
Yeah, I just think, we don't blink. We take every play, one play at a time, especially in the second half. Obviously, we'd love to get off to a faster start and not have to deal with that. But very happy for our guys. We found a way to get it done.
I know you have larger goals, but what's the satisfaction in at least holding off them capturing the AFC East?
Yeah, I mean, they still may get there. That's a really good team we just played, but not tonight. Not tonight.
Is there some power to maybe Dawson Knox having his daughter this week, you announcing that you will soon be expecting in terms of the production we saw on this field?
I don't know about that.
That's a dumb
I'm
question.
Very, very blessed.
That's a reach.
I love my team. I love my wife. She's my favorite teammate.
Absolutely. Lastly, you know what it takes to win down the stretch here. AFC East aside, what do you like about the group you're taking into this stretch?
Listen, we're just going to continue to find ways. We're going to keep poking at it, keep trying to get better each week. Just one game, one practice, one play at a time.
Not that you care, but you might be the most entertaining team in the league right now.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Go Bills.
Who's this guy interviewing? Who is this guy? He's just like
it's CBS Sports.
Not good.
No.
What was the question about the right?
Yeah, one of your teammates had a kid. Your wife is expecting.
What does that have to do with the price of eggs? That was a weird question.
Yeah.
That was a weird interview.
It feels like a way to shoehorn in a little bit of information for some reason to know that so that Josh knows you did your research on him. It's
That's
just
weird. And then at the end, by the way, you're the most entertaining team. Like we know, we just beat the pay. We know what that is. I don't know.
That sounds like a fan asking the question, like somebody who's been a lifelong Bills fan gets in that situation and he can't help himself.
It's just people get paid millions of dollars. These reporters do. And the questions they come up with are like, what are you asking right now? And it was just a long interview. He was asking like the same 2 or 3 questions. One of the most entertaining teams in the league right now. I mean, you know that? I mean, yeah, we know. We just beat it. We know. God.
Yeah, everybody thinks that they need to reinvent the wheel and have the most off the wall question you could possibly come up with. I mean, I understand like you want to do something original. You want to ask it a question that he's never been asked before.
That was bad.
But you also have to serve the audience and not drool all over Josh Allen.
That was bad.
Things are not well in Cincinnati, believe it or not. You saw that interview last week where Joe Burrow he would barely talk. And that's not Joe Burrow, right? He usually is a little more loose-lipped in these interviews, but Joe Burrow, confident, Joe Burrow here says that he believes the right people are in place in Cincinnati. And let's see if you believe him.
Yeah, when your quarterback plays like that, your team's not going to have a chance to win. So, that one's on me. Obviously disappointed in my play today, so I got to be better.
Back to Wednesday, there was a lot made of your comments about if you're having fun or not in Cincinnati. So just to let you address it, are you still enjoying playing for the Bengals? And what did you make of kind of what happened in your comments?
My comments had nothing to do with Cincinnati. My comments had everything to do with me and my mindset and football.
Do you think that your mindset this week impacted your play today, or was it just your
No.
3 years now.
What are they? Joe,
what are they doing?
You still got 3 games. Are you happy being here, Joe? Do you want to go, Joe? Would you like out of your contract, Joe? He's like, that's not my decision. Why are you asking me these questions?
I'm telling you, man, reporters are just like
digging.
They're digging, they're fishing, they're not great at their job. They get paid all this money. I don't know what it is. We need to get paid more. You and I do. I know that for a fact. Diesel, let's talk Clemson. Bowl opt-outs. If you're a Clemson fan, we've got a good one for you. Talking to Grayson, Mann, TigerNet.com. We'll even get into a little Clemson basketball next. Scranton 79-49 to improve to 1-0 in region play, but fell to North Mecklenburg on Saturday 81-60. The Burns Running Rebels are now 6-2 on the season. I invite you to join me for Burns Running Rebels basketball tomorrow night at Eastside. It's Burns at Eastside. Burns Running Rebels basketball presented by Ingles Markets.
Leave your namby-pamby sports takes at the door. Call in if you're man enough.
844 Fan Phone. This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
In a season where everyone is opting out, we go to the one, the only Grayson Mann of TigerNet.com. When we look at Clemson, the Pinstripe Bowl rapidly approaching. We'll also get into some Clemson basketball, a big one tomorrow night as well. But Grayson Mann, TigerNet.com, have you opted out of the Pinstripe Bowl yet?
My papers didn't go through, so I guess I'm going.
The season we're in, Grayson, I mean, are you surprised by these opt-outs?
Not in particular. It would have shocked me if any four of those had played, especially Terrell, Parker, and Woods, who are all projected to be high draft picks in this spring's draft. I'd be floored. And Sweeney, to his credit, only 4 bowl opt-outs, or I guess 5 counting Antonio Williams, but he cited that's more injury-related than anything else. So of the expected opt-outs, I think that's what you should really probably be on a course for, is those guys were going to opt out. I think it would be shocking if anything else had happened.
You know, Grayson, it would make a lot of sense if Cade Klubnik chose to opt out, especially because he's been battling a little bit of a thumb injury or hand injury the last couple of days that has kept him from throwing in practice. What's the absolute latest on that?
Yeah, from what we've heard for the last at least couple hours is that it's not serious, and they're just kind of, I think, putting it on ice. No pun intended with the weather outside. But ultimately, I think it won't keep Klubnik out of the bowl game. But it wouldn't be shocking if it opened up the door for maybe a Denson or a Vizina to get some playing time in, especially in a game where, man, there's a lot of opt-outs on both sides.
Grayson, I want to ask you a question about bowl games impacting coaching staffs. We know that, like, as fans, as media, we're not up, for the bowl games like we used to be. Maybe we all need to take a bowl game blue pill, but we're just not up for it. And I want to know from you, are coaches in the same boat? Like, I know they're human. I also know they're coaches. They're getting paid millions of dollars to go out there and coach. I get that. But in your mind, from like what you gather, you're around them a lot more than we are. Do you ever feel that as if sometimes the coaches also feel the same feeling that we do when it comes to bowls, and them just not meaning as much nowadays?
It didn't look like it on the practice field today at Clemson. Those guys were active, and especially with the light crowd where you're down 26 scholarship players, so it's a little bit quieter out there. You can hear the coaches a little bit more in their instruction. They were certainly tapped in, Cole, and there was a lot of energy to this group. And CJ Spiller had come up to some of the folks in the media looking at our clothing to see if we were tough enough for the cold, and we got glowing reviews on that front. So they're out there having a good time. It's an extra opportunity with this group. They've been winning for the last month and a half. So for them, it's another opportunity to go out there and do that. Can't say in terms of the rest of the country if that's the same vibe. The Bucked Up LA Bowl, or wherever it was on Saturday, I want to say, didn't look like the energy was all there, but it was also a blowout at the end of the day. So I think it comes with the mileage of whatever point they're at in their program.
Grayson, what kind of, verbiage have you heard from these coaches as they're trying to impart how much beating Penn State would mean? I know Penn State had a very disappointing season, as did Clemson, but hey, that's still a big brand that you would be able to beat and end your season with what would feel like a marquee win. 10 years from now, people are only going to remember that Clemson beat Penn State or played Penn State in a bowl game. They're not going to remember that these two were two teams that ultimately didn't meet their expectations. So how are they communicating what this game means and what it would mean to not look good in this game?
I think it means more it's a Clemson group. I think it would be the first time in Clemson's history for a group to start 1-3 and finish out the season with 8 wins. I believe that would be the first time in program history. So there's a little bit riding right there. But I think at that same time, it's a group that there's some new opportunities cropping up for certain players. We spoke to Tyler Brown this afternoon, him being one that hasn't really gotten his fair share of reps at receiver with the crowded room that he's a part of. this is an opportunity for him now with Wesco and Williams both out of that starting equation. He got a dose of reps at practice today, along with Tristan Smith and TJ Moore. So big opportunity for him. Jeremiah Alexander getting the start now with Wade Woodaz missing the game due to having surgery this Wednesday. So there's going to be a crop of players that haven't really seen the spotlight all too much. And this is an opportunity for them to essentially have an audition for next year, whether that's with Clemson or if they're looking elsewhere to put some good tape out on for their career.
Talking to Grayson, Mann, TigerNet.com. Make sure you give him a follow on Twitter, on X at Gray_Man21. That's man with 2 N's if you are a Clemson fan. Grayson, want to get your thoughts on the reaction that you've gotten from a tweet that you sent out about 3 hours ago. You said Dabo Swinney says the team will return from New York City late on the 27th, and the portal will open days later. He adds that Clemson won't take part in any early deals until the portal opens. We aren't going to cut deals with people and all that stuff, says Swinney. The reaction, I'm sure you've already seen them in your mentions. Clemson fans not too happy about Dabo and the methodology and the approach with the transfer portal. Do you believe that Clemson fans are justified with being upset that Dabo's sitting on the bench a little bit too long when it comes to the portal?
Yeah, I think Clemson's always going to try to do it, I think, the right way. And that's quote unquote the right way, depending on who you ask. So sure, anytime Swinney and portal comes up, it's like throwing gasoline on a fire.
Yeah.
So I think that Clemson, it would be probably naive to assume that Clemson hasn't poked around in certain portal targets at this point. He had talked about if you're not trying to retain your players all year, then you're not doing it right. Well, if you're not recruiting in the portal all year, trying to figure out ways to grow the roster beyond whatever year you're currently working for, I don't think you're doing it right either. So maybe that's just something you put out there to save face. But I think at the same time, for Swinney, there is an element of they're going to try to do it the right way. They're going to try to live by the players, etc. We could go on and on and on about what type of way Clemson tries to operate. But I think with a year like this, where Clemson fans want to see some action in the portal, they want to see some action on the coaching staff, that comment probably wasn't the best thing for them to look at on Twitter.
Grayson, Mann of TigerNet, joins us here every week on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. It feels like we ask you about him every single week. Garrett Riley, it felt like a week ago or a little over a week ago, at least the rumors were that Garrett Riley was interested in communications with Coastal Carolina, ultimately didn't get that job. Can you tell us now that that's not a possibility, to what point did that conversation reach with Coastal?
Yeah, it's my understanding he was a serious candidate for that coaching job, Diesel, and was potentially ready to take the job. But there were a lot of logistical factors involved in there, as well as some interest from Ryan Beard of Missouri State, ultimately ended up being the more attractive candidate. But yeah, for Riley, this was a serious option for him and something that we were monitoring for a long time in terms of just that stretch of hours when it initially reported until Beard eventually got the job. It seemed like Riley was one that it wouldn't have shocked us if he had ended up getting that position. So 2 group of 5, I guess you're part of that rumor mill for 2 jobs and you ultimately fall out on 2. Now the question comes, do Clemson and Garrett Riley try to give it one more go in 2026, or are they going to eventually part ways? That's going to be an interesting conversation. He was at practice today. He was engaged, and we've been told that he's been in the building and just treating it as business as usual. So Riley still coaching and operating like all is well in Clemson.
Grayson, just going back to like the mid part of the season when things were not going well for Clemson, not saying you, but a lot of the feel was as if Dabo's mind had already been made up. How have we gotten back to the spot where, maybe they're going to give it one more go? I thought Clemson fans thought that Dabo's mind was already made up.
Yeah, I'm sure there were indications that maybe he had already made up his mind. I still think that it's probably going to be a different offensive coordinator in 2026. That's just a gut feeling.
Yeah.
Just based off of kind of how things have gone. The marriage hasn't exactly been perfect. But at the end of the day, maybe there's an opportunity for them to discuss their options with a new quarterback, see how it operates post-Cade Klubnik. Riley's been tied to the hip at only one guy at that position, so maybe things work out differently on the other end. There's a lot of speculation for sure, and I think a lot of rumors change hands, Cole, throughout the course of a season. So A lot of moving parts there, and I think in a position that's so, I think, heavily talked about. It's a fiery conversation anytime you bring it up. Obviously, we're going to be careful on our end to try to figure out how this all works out, but there was a point in time where I really seriously thought that Coastal was going to hire Garrett Riley, and we'd be having a different conversation, right?
So you earlier you talked about the fact that Cade Klubnik is going to play in this Pinstripe Bowl, and don't know to what degree he's going to be available, and backup quarterbacks getting a chance to get in. I mean, do you believe that Dabo and especially Cade want to see this thing all the way through, no matter what? Victory is the most important thing, not so much an early look at who might be the quarterback next year.
Yeah, and Sweeney was asked that directly, Diesel, and he said that at the end of the day, they're just trying to win this game, and that's the most important thing. And so, yeah, Klubnik does give you the best option right now to win against Penn State, and I know a lot of fans want to see the future. They want to see if Vizina, a little bit more tape would maybe sway a decision here or there, or maybe a look at Denson could be a possible option. I know fans want the portal to be a potential option. So right now it looks like this is going to be Klubnik's last soiree with Clemson, and then we'll see where that all goes from there. I see the comment. That'll be interesting to monitor. It looks like Lagway and Clemson is not currently on the table, but we'll see.
Sam Levitt?
Maybe. We'll see.
We'll see. Grayson, you sound like our bosses now. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Hey, tomorrow night, a big one, right? Tomorrow night's a really big one. Clemson, South Carolina. I don't know, man. I told Diesel on the air last week I was giving Brownell like a pass, pumping the brakes on hitting the panic button after Alabama, BYU. And then I watched Saturday Clemson Mercer, and I wasn't enthusiastic. I mean, help me out here. Am I right to be kind of like, oh boy, here we go again? Or is there maybe in your mind a turnaround? Because I know the season hadn't gotten into conference play yet. I get that, but it hasn't been the best start in my mind when you've seen Clemson go up against quality competition and even Mercer on Saturday.
Well, I think the most important thing for that group, and I think a theme of Alabama and BYU, was the inability down the stretch to find that extra gear to be able to get into some of those wins. Where at Alabama, it's kind of right there for you. You fall down the stretch. BYU, we've beaten that drum plenty of times. We know how that one ended. And against Mercer, a group that I think is a lot better than maybe the brand will give it credit for, where you're looking at the TV on Saturday, you're going, Mercer, okay, like, sure. A lot of tough shots on Saturday. Mercer was frankly incredible, some of the things they're able to find. But I think for Clemson at the end of the day, that was a situation they needed to find themselves in, if that makes any sense, to be able to pull themselves out. And you had this back and forth. You really having to claw for every basket. And for Clemson, in that final 8, they limited Mercer to just 3 makes. And I think so defensively, you found a way to lock it down. You made the important shots. You made the important stops. That's a formula for Clemson. I think they found their final 5 on the floor moving forward. And Foster, Porter, Dylan Hunter, Nick Davidson, and RJ Godfrey. We'll see if that's the formula that sticks. But ultimately, I think Clemson's figured something out on Saturday, regardless of who's the opponent.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's hard to say with this team because the season is still so young to figure out how they react. Number one, to losses and heartbreaking losses like they did against BYU. Do you think there was any kind of holdover or hangover from that BYU loss that maybe caused some of that first half slow and sluggishness from Clemson? Or was it just that Mercer hit them with something they didn't expect?
And Brownell had kind of alluded to it, that maybe it wasn't the best scheduling on their part to have this late arrival back home from New York City, stack that on with finals and a bunch of other obligations this team has to take care of at this time of year. And then you stack a Saturday game against a really good Mercer team that's a lot better than I think folks will give them credit for. And it just creates this possibility of trap game. And it nearly was. And so Clemson's able to pull its way out of it. They're certainly not going to need any motivation to get up or any just extra reason. It's South Carolina. They're going to be ready to go. So I think you had to just escape that one on Saturday. I've said as long as they finish 10-3 and beat South Carolina and Cincinnati in non-con, you finish that stretch on a positive note. No serious landmines. And at the end of the day, that's all you can ask for.
Grayson, my last question for you. Let's draw a scenario in which Christopher Vizina is your starting quarterback in 2026. going into Death Valley, playing Lane Kiffin and LSU, right? And we've seen in the past 6 to 8 months, we've seen Sam Levitt transfer to somewhere else. We've seen DJ Lagway transfer to somewhere else. And you also saw in the 2025 season, some portal quarterbacks have pretty good campaigns. If that scenario were to play out, in your mind, what would that say about Dabo Swinney?
Yeah, I think that it's tough to project right now, although the idea of just getting to LSU in 2026, that is going to be fascinating on its own. But I think I've said on this show multiple times that I held the belief that Clemson's starter wasn't on the roster, or Clemson's 2026 starter wasn't on this roster. I think that the portal is a very hit and miss. Like, there's no in between. You either got a stud or a dud. And for Clemson, that's the evaluation process they're going to have to go through. I think it could depend on who's on the staff to be able to push it in the right direction. We've seen Clemson have success in that evaluation in the portal. I think Will Helt and Jeremiah Alexander, it's safe to say they've been hits in their own respective rights as a starter and a depth piece. So quarterback's a tricky one. I think Clemson should. Will they? I don't know. There's certainly going to be an indictment on Swinney if Vizina is your starter in 2026 and it doesn't go well, because you've had him on campus for the last several years and you should have a good idea of where you stand quarterback wise. And if it doesn't go well, we'll be talking about this in December 15th, 2026 about what it all means for sure.
You know, Grayson, from where I'm sitting, it looks like Dabo is intentionally slow walking his transfer portal policy. Again, the policy has always been, we're not going to get in bidding war. We're not going to throw a lot of cash at a guy up front to get him to come here. Well, that just means we're not committed to getting the best player we possibly can out of the portal. If we're going to wait until the portal opens before we start talking to guys, okay, now you're behind the 8 ball. If you're not going to throw cash at guys, okay, now you're even farther behind the 8 ball. And it feels like it's all kind of, well, this has been Dabo's plan all along. Sure, I'll be active in the portal, but I'm not going to do everything that I possibly can to go out and get the best possible players that I can. Am I dead on with that assessment, or is that unfair?
I think there's a mix to it, because I do believe Clemson had to outbid a lot of schools to retain the roster it has. Now, I know with hindsight being what it is, the roster that Clemson ultimately had wasn't good enough in 2025. But in this time last year, you had a lot of schools, a lot of serious contenders looking for guys like TJ Parker, trying to outbid guys for Peter Woods. So there was a level of spending that Clemson had to do. Now, granted, it was on their home floor. So there's that argument to be made, Diesel, that, yeah, maybe in the portal they don't do as enough of the big spending. But I don't think Clemson's been in a position like this yet to where there's been that need outside. You got a guy like Will Helt off of a few other schools. You were able to poach Jeremiah Alexander. So they've had their successes, but it's never been to the necessary level where you have to go get 8 to 12 guys in the transfer portal. This is a new road that Clemson and Dabo Swinney are having to take, and it'll be interesting to see if that statement holds up. I think we're going to find a lot about this program's philosophy in that sense in the coming weeks.
Grayson, I lied to you. One more real quick here. You made me think of this when the way you answered that last question that I asked you with Garrett Riley. We've seen in the past 2 weeks a lot of head coaches and assistant coaches be hired and fired. Mm-hmm. Is Clemson's bowl game hurting their chances of finding a good offensive coordinator not named Garrett Riley?
Well, I will say Sweeney's always been pretty methodical on this front, where they've had their guy lined up ready to go if they're going to make a decision like that. And you look at what happened last year. Clemson waited till the semifinals of the playoffs to make a move with Tom Allen. And so maybe Clemson's eyeing a guy that's currently, I'm just throwing this out here for the sake of hypotheticals, so no one's like, oh, this is what Grayson's saying as gospel. But what if JMU's OC is a guy that Clemson really likes? They got to wait for him to be done. Or Oregon, or we could throw at Alabama, just throwing out random teams. But maybe that's a situation where Clemson's in a wait-and-see mode to see how this field shakes out in the postseason to maybe make a move. That could be one thing they're monitoring.
Grayson, you work your ass off in the summer. You work your ass off all season long, and it shows. We appreciate you as always.
Thanks, man.
I appreciate you guys. Have a great week.
Unfiltered sports insanity on Wire to Wire with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
I'm Chuck Sanders. Here's the Sports Flash presented by Progressive. The Saints beat the Panthers 20-17 in New Orleans on Sunday. The Saints rallied back with 10 points in the fourth for the win. Charlie Smith hit a 47-yard field goal with 2 seconds left, pushing New Orleans ahead. The result prevented the Panthers from taking sole possession of first place in the NFC South. The Panthers are tied with Tampa at 7-7-0. They could have jumped ahead with a win following 2 straight losses by Tampa. It sets up an interesting final 3 weeks of the season. The Panthers host the Buccaneers next Sunday, and then the teams close out the regular season in Tampa. Women's hoops on Sunday. Number 3 South Carolina beat Penn State 95-55 to improve to 10-1. Furman beat Mars Hill 110-36. Sanford over South Carolina Upstate 74-67. Clemson beat Pitt 73-41. Classic Rock 101.1 is your home for Carolina Panthers football all season long. Search the Fan Upstate on the TuneIn, Odyssey, and iHeartRadio apps. I'm Chuck Sanders on the Fan Upstate.
Hey, Sean Hannity here to tell you about American-made windows of the Upstate. Let Don and Pam show you how to save money on one of the best investments you'll ever make for your home. High utility bills, rotting window sills, moisture between panes. That's all signs that you need new windows.
Paul, I'm about to say some words to you that are going to sound absurd, but they're absolutely true. I guess that doesn't make them any less absurd because things can be absurd and true. Georgia State quarterback TJ Finley has announced his plans to enter the NCAA transfer portal. The former LSU, Auburn, Texas State, Western Kentucky, and Tulane quarterback is filing an NCAA waiver for a 7th year of eligibility.
Who would ever give it to him? You just named like half of the SEC there. Former Alabama, Auburn, Vanderbilt, South Carolina State, North Greenville, Burns High School. I mean, good grief. What are we doing?
I don't know who even keeps taking this guy.
No, what's his name?
TJ Finley.
I've heard the name. Yeah, Finley.
He's been around. He's been around everywhere. I think you're thinking of a different Finley that played at NC State.
Brian, maybe.
I
know who you're
sure.
talking about.
There's a Finley that played.
Yeah.
Was it CJ Finley?
No, that's CJ Bailey.
CJ Bailey. Anyway, how is it possible that what school does he go to when it's time to go to like the 20-year reunions?
Yeah, he can say, "Look, I have 9 rings." But it's because I went to 9 different schools, never won anything. But that's awful, man.
How does he choose where he goes?
What a state. What a time to be alive, college football.
Like, somebody needs to grab him by the face mask and say, dude, you're 30. It's over.
Yeah.
It's over. If you're not going to make the NFL, go get a job. Like, who keeps paying this guy?
Go work for State Farm or something. Mr.
Sell
Finley.
cars.
All kidding aside, do we know how old he is? He's got to be what?
How old is TJ?
I'm going to guess. Let me guess 24? 24?
TJ Finley is 23.
Okay.
23.
Diego's age.
They're calling him a veteran college football quarterback.
Yeah, I think he is veteran. He is veteran.
He's ready. He'll be ready for retirement before Aaron Rodgers is.
No doubt. Tolo's a big Tuesday show coming your way. We'll have Monday Night Football to react to. The portal one day close to opening up. And, man, Jack Veltri, Gamecock Central, a lot to get to. And I mean a lot. Tomorrow, 3 to 7 p.m. right here on the Fed Upstate. We want you to turn it on and leave it on.